Hey y'all, and happy Wednesday. Hey Rhonda. Today I'm super excited because I did some channeling of Amara, which is my oversoul. If y'all not familiar, y'all haven't been here, whatever. We're talking about Atlantis today, and we're talking about the High Priestess Amara. And it's so much to cover with her that we're not going to get through it all today. However, I did sit down the other day because she told me to sit down. She needs to tell me something. And I did a channeling with her the other day to pick up on anything that I was missing from what I put together today. Hey, AJ. And she blew my fucking mind over and over and over and over again. So I'm excited about today's session because at the end, I'm going to do a channel message of stuff that I feel like when people talk about Atlantis, they have never mentioned before, but things that are really important for us to understand to help clear things up. Hey, Cheryl. So I'm excited. And what's crazy about me doing the channeling is that the first time I ever talked to her, I heard her outside of me because I have clear audience. Hey, divine timing. I have clear audience, which means that that's one of my strongest gifts is like clear hearing. But as my gifts have shifted, I'm hearing her from my heart space, which fucked me up because I was like, wait, I'm not hearing through my ears anymore. It's coming from my heart. Like I don't understand what that is. So I like asked her about it, and she was basically telling me that our heart chakra or heart space is more than what we know it to be. It's like a heart chamber and it holds a lot of information, but also it's a place where our oversoul communicates with us, which was shocking to me because I feel like, the reason why, or people who choose embodiment or service to other people, right? People who choose to go on an enlightened path, the difference between them and the people who don't choose is ego, right? And people who choose the ego path, they're service to self, so they don't need the heart space. They don't find it to be valuable. And so they skip the heart space. So those of us who decide to get in tune with our heart space, um, who decide to go on this spiritual path, it gives us direct access to our oversoul to speak from within us, right? And it's like our oversoul lives inside of us and is viewing this world through our eyes, right? But it speaks to you through your heart. So it's so important for us to have an open heart. It's so important for us to not allow people's inability to receive us where we are when it comes to love to harden us, to cause us to close our heart space, because our heart space is so important when it comes to us connecting with the highest version of ourself, which is your oversoul. And the oversoul is what you would consider to be like the God within, right? Not everybody has the same oversoul. There are 12 main oversoul strands here right now. And whatever oversoul you come from is your God within, but your God within may be very different than somebody else's God within, which I thought was interesting as well. And then she told me as well that our bodies are water temples, and that the water inside of us is actually living intelligence. And not only does it hold memory, but it communicates to us through emotions. So I got a lot of shit to say today. I got a lot of shit to say today because she kept blowing my mind over and over and over and over again. Like, she even explained to me why the dynamic is between me, my mom, and my brother. Like my whole entire life, I feel like my mama showed favoritism in that, like, if something happened where my brother would do something and I would defend myself, she would not even ask questions. She would just come in and it was automatically my fault, right? Well, in a past life, because I couldn't understand why in this life I keep feeling like I need to save my brother. Um, and I don't know what that is about. Just seeing you when you start to now is astonishing how fast and quick change can. Yeah, it's happening very fast. It happened like overnight that I just remembered and all of the shit started happening. Um, but I didn't understand like why I felt like she would never like hear my side of the story. She just always assumed that I was at fault. And then I also did not understand why anytime I speak about anything spiritual, my brother gets very uncomfortable. Like I feel like he's not very interested in it, even though he sees spirits, even though he is a spiritual person himself, he always shies away from it. And then the last part is me feeling like I need to save him. Well, apparently in a past life, I was a oracle, right? And he came to me and I was trying to force him into doing what I wanted him to do. And I misled him. I lied to him, which caused him to lose his life. And my mom, who is my mom now, was his mom in that lifetime. So when I caused him to do what he did, it fractured his soul and it got him stuck in a distortion loop. So for the last 4 lifetimes, I have been trying to fix and correct what I did, but I also shut off my gifts. So now I'm coming back into myself, finally realizing that I'm not going to be able to save him because I keep having dreams about, me trying to save him from himself, but then him still choosing the opposite path. Like, no matter what I do, if I pull him out of the fight, he jumps back in. Like, I'm in this loop, right? And so I fractured his fucking soul. And I decided in the past life that, one, I wasn't worthy of my gifts, but then I also decided that I needed to save him. So for the last 4 lifetimes, I have been incarnating with him and my mother, trying to fix what I fucking did. So when I say that some of the stuff that you experiencing in this lifetime have no fucking, like, you have no fucking idea. A lot of times it has nothing to do with this life. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. I caused him to jump off a fucking cliff. And he was a child. He was only 13, 14 years old, because I misled him, because he was not listening to me. And in this life, I've struggled with control. Like, I feel like I'm always trying to tell people how to show up. I'm always trying to get people to see it my way, do it my way. And it wasn't until recently that I realized that I can't do the work for people, right? And not only that, my brother has been mistrusting of me. Anytime I give him spiritual knowledge, or I'm talking about spiritual knowledge, even though he can see the truth of it, I know that he sees the truth. He don't like it coming from me, which I get that now, because I wouldn't trust my monkey ass either. Because your body remembers, your soul remembers, your mind is what doesn't remember. But his body remembers. And then my mama remembers that she needs to protect him from me, because I literally cost him everything. I cost him everything, his life. And he was a child. And that explains why I don't play about children either. That explains why I live a life of integrity, because I lied to him. I hate a liar. That's the worst thing you could do to me, is lie to me, baby. You ain't coming back. And I mean that. I mean that wholeheartedly. But now it just all makes sense. So y'all, talking to your oversoul changes the game. Changes the game. So today we're going to start talking about my oversoul, Amara. She was the High Priestess of Atlantis. And at the end, she gave me some insight that just changed my fucking life. Like, I'm talking about, I had no idea some of the stuff that she was dropping. I'm like, girl, what are we talking about right now? I'd never seen it through that lens. So I'm excited to provide some understanding with that today. As always, I'm only taking questions through my Soul Tribe tier on my Patreon, just because it's just too many questions coming at me, and I ain't gonna be able to keep up with all of them and give the message. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started with this. The topics we're going to discuss today is Amara, is her attire, because her attire actually played an important role in like what she did in Atlantis. Hey, Callie. So we're going to talk about her crystal crown, her crystal gown, her crystal shoes. We'll talk about the 3 rings that surround her as well. We'll talk about her royal guard. We'll talk about some key events that happened during the fall, like key things that they did to her during the fall. And then I have a channel message from her. And then next time we're going to continue on with the conversation about her, just because it's so much information that I'm not going to be able to fit it into this one session. Today is going to be a longer session, because I tried to fit it into one session and I said, bitch, you doing too much. You're doing too much. Let it back it up real quick. Okay. So yeah, so I'm excited. So let's get started. So we talked about Amara before, when we was talking about the flame lineages, and when we were talking about like embodying your oversoul and all of that, right? We talked about her briefly. We're going to go into deep detail today, because I think you have to understand how fucking powerful she was. And she was a Melanite being, meaning she's a dark-skinned Black woman with dreads. That's what she looked like to me. Dark-skinned Black woman with dreads. Okay. So Amara is not just a name. It is an actual vibration. It is a frequency. Okay. It's a soul sound, meaning like you can call this name. It is a soul sound that activates memory. Okay. Meaning by calling on her name, calling on her frequency, you start to move into her frequency, and it activates soul memory. Okay. She was a high priestess, or what we would call like a queen of Atlantis, meaning like she was at the top. Like she was the high priestess of Atlantis, chosen by the crystal flame to lead Atlantis. Okay. But they didn't have a hierarchy in the way that we look at hierarchy. Everybody just had a function and a purpose that they were supposed to serve. Because she was able to hold so much light and maintain that light and hold so much remembrance, she was selected for by the crystal itself, which the crystal housed pure unfiltered source energy. She was chosen to do that job because she was created for that job. Okay. So she was what we would consider to be a high priestess. She was the queen, is what we call it, a queen. Okay. But she was a star walker of ancient Atlantis. Okay. She was the last full guardian of the Great Crystal Temple, which is what we talked about last time before the fall. Okay. She existed beyond time and she still holds keys to the inner planes. Amara means eternal in the ancient tongues, and Thea, because her name is Amara or Amara Thea. They used to call her one of the other, Amara or Amara Thea. So Amara by itself means eternal, but the Thea part means goddess or seer. So she was a seer, meaning a seer is a seer, someone who sees, a seer. Okay. Her full name loosely translates to she who holds the eternal light of sight or the undying flame of the temple star. Because you got to remember, back in the day, language was a mathematical code. Language held a specific frequency. So the names that you were given and the name that you were chosen hold a specific frequency. Even today, your name holds a specific frequency. It is your core frequency. Okay. She was not born from bloodline royalty, but from soul lineage. She was a being chosen by the crystal itself, and she rose from the inner earth schools. She was initiated through dream walking, through sound weaving, and through starlight alignment. And her crown was not gold, but it was a band of living crystals that were gifted to her from the ocean's core. And they actually are tall crystals. Like, they kind of look like pillars in a way. Like, it's a huge crown. But it's living though. When you look at her, like, everything is moving. Like, everything on her is moving. Like, it's like a frequency or whatever. Like, the colors are changing, like everything. Okay. So what type of being was Amara? Well, she was a multi-dimensional being, meaning she can move in between dimensions. She was not easily defined by one race or realm or frequency. She was what we would call a primordial rose flame, or a crystal flame sovereign, with consciousness spanning across Atlantis, across Venus, and across the celestial seraphic lineages. Okay. So I don't know if you've ever, in the Bible, they say the seraphim, though that's actually a realm. That's actually a race of being who actually come from darkness and stillness, not like darkness, how we consider it, not like the shadows, but like stillness, from like the void, from like the cosmic womb. Okay. So her roles or like kind of like what she embodied was that she was the Atlantean High Priestess and Crystal Guardian. So in the third and fourth dimensional timelines, she was the High Priestess of Atlantis. She served in the Temple of the Crystal Flame, acting as both a healer and a protector of sacred knowledge. Okay. Her bloodline was royal, but not how we see it today. It was royal in the aspect that it was encoded with original source frequencies, making her a vessel for divine intelligence. Okay. She was also a starseed of the Venusian and Syrian order. Okay. When I go and see my star guides, which I have 3 of them, I have 2 female and 1 is male. The 2 females, I know their name. I've never met the male before. But they are from Syria. They are from Sirius B. And the reason why I know that is because when I went there, I seen these 8-foot like bald eagles, and those eagles actually come from Sirius B. Okay. So she is a starseed of the Venetian and Syrian order. And before Atlantis, her consciousness descended through Sirius B, which is where we get dolphins and whales and stuff like that, and Venus, both deeply connected to rose lineages. Okay. So side note, like I said, I don't think I've ever been to Venus when I astral project. I think that I've only ever been to Sirius, and they live a full life over there. Meaning, like how we live in a life on Earth, they're living a life. Like they're not just light beings floating around, fucking dancing around. No, like when I went to go see one of them, I went unexpectedly. So I went initially, right? And she came and got me in a car, but the car didn't have wheels. It was like floating in a way. And I think she was showing it to me in a way that I would understand it so I wouldn't get scared, right? So I got in the car with her, and like it was like a party or something happening to the side. And I feel like that was a test that I failed, because I was like, oh girl, let's go over here. And I came right out of it. So I went back into it. And when I went back into it, I didn't see my star god immediately. It was like two people were talking to me, and they were basically talking to me about my tongue and how long my tongue was. And like, which is crazy because I trip over my tongue a lot in this lifetime. But they're like, oh my gosh, your tongue is so long. And we like having that conversation while they call my star god, because I didn't know they was calling her. And when she came up, she was with a man and she was in like a ball gown. Like she was like looking like she was coming from a gala or something. And then I woke up immediately. So I was wasting her motherfucking time. But not only that, she was funny. Like she had my type of humor. So they're living a full life on other frequency bands in planets and stuff. So I just wanted to mention that. But she is from Venus. And because she's from Venus, she carries the codes of divine feminine harmony, sacred union, and rose technology. So she's living life she's a living light through beauty, sound, and resonance. Okay. Hey, Natalia. But also from Sirius, she brings deep water wisdom. She brings dream walking abilities. So I don't know if y'all have ever seen The Wheel of Time, but that TV show, if you've seen it, this episode is going to be interesting because a lot of the terminology, a lot of the stuff makes sense. Okay. But she has dream walking abilities and crystalline geometry used in temple building and soul healing. Okay. Hold on, let me shut my door, y'all. Give me 1 second. I don't want to show you what I got going on, but give me 1 second. Oh, come on. Girl, I always leave my damn door open. What's going on? I'm sorry, y'all. Okay. All right. So from Venus, she carries the divine feminine harmony codes, the sacred union, the rose technology. From Sirius, she gets the deep water wisdom, dream walking abilities, crystalline geometry used in temple building and sound healing as well. Okay. So Atlantean High Priestess, Crystal Guardian, Starseed from Venus in Syria. And then the Seraphic Soul lineage. Okay. So the Seraphic Soul lineage is at her core, she probably came from that realm. Okay. And that realm is what I just said. The angelic order of flame and light, whose voices sung creation into form. Okay. It's sung creation into existence. All right. So like the original people. So as a seraphic being, her presence carries the eternal flame, which is used to stabilize planetary grids. The tone of divine law, which is not like legal law in the way that we see it, but it's like cosmic alignment. And then a mirror-like aura, which reflects truth and activates remembrance in other people. Okay. So she's a soul mirror. And that's what she gets from the seraphic soul lineage that she descends from. Okay. Meaning like she was a part of creating all of this. All right. And then the last thing is that she's a dream walker and she's a Stargate key holder. And as a dream walker, she's able to move between timelines and dimensions in the sleeping and liminal space, which we're going to talk about towards the end a little bit more in detail. And what I mean by that is like dreaming is not what we think it is. So she explained to me what dreaming was and what we can actually do in dreams. So we're going to talk about that in the part where I give y'all the channel message that she gave me. Okay. She holds keys to underwater and etheric stargates, especially those linked to the oceanic rose grid and the Lemurian heart temples. And her essence, again, reemerges when the 144,000 priestesses begin to awaken, especially in this lifetime, okay, which we talked about a couple episodes ago. Amara is a soul of high frequency and cosmic depth. She is a soul of high frequency and cosmic depth. She is a being of crystal light, flame, and rose essence. And she is a bridge between Atlantis, Venus, and the celestial temples. Okay. On a deeper level, she is a Melanite crystalline being, or at least carries the Melanite frequency codes in her crystalline body. Okay. What is Melanite? Melanite is a rare form of black garnet. And if you look it up, you can actually find these on Amazon. It's like a black crystal with like orangish hues in it, in a way, which I think is interesting because Black people have the orange undertone. That's why we use corrective things in makeup with orange undertones, whereas white people have more like purple blues. We have an orange hue underneath us. but it's rich in grounding yet deeply protective spiritual energy. It holds the frequency of the earth star chakra in the womb of creation, yet also is connected to galactic consciousness. It's associated with truth, with deep memory, with inner strength and divine feminine sovereignty. And so she comes from that Melanite crystalline being, okay, meaning she has melanin in her. Okay. When I see her, like I said, she is a brown skinned Black woman who has locks. And what's crazy about that for me is that my whole entire life I felt like I was too light. I've always said that I was dark skinned, and I used to say back in the day when I was on my hood rat things that Boosie was my uncle and I looked just like him. And I always felt like my skin needed to be darker. Okay. So yeah, she was a dark-skinned Black woman. I also hated my voice, which I'm gonna tell y'all about that later. But there are some things that kind of make sense now because of this, right? So a Melanite crystalline being has a crystalline light body that is interwoven with Melanite frequency, which is a deep Black crystal. But it's, like I said, it's not the darkness that we consider to be shadow energy. It is the original void. It is the womb of creation, the silence before sound. Melanite crystalline beings are crystalline, carbon-based life forms. Okay? Crystalline, carbon-based light forms. If you want to learn about Melanite crystalline beings, Dr. Malachi York is a good resource for this. Also, Quatita Dean, A Walk with the Ancestors on YouTube. They talk about this a lot. Okay? But she held a deep earth resonance. She was anchoring cosmic wisdom into form. Okay. Melanite makes her untouchable to distortion. So it kind of cloaks her frequency so that it cannot be hijacked or it cannot be mirrored. And this is key for beings who carry high light during turbulent times like Atlantis's fall. So a lot of us, because we have a high amount of melanin, okay, it cloaks us to be untouchable by distortion, meaning we have to choose distortion for it to be a thing that enters our reality. Okay, why does it matter? It reveals her role as a bridge between cosmic intelligence and Earth's deepest sacred memory. And many priestesses radiate white, gold, or rose light. Amara embodies the Black flame. So the womb of stars, the void mother, and the stillness that birthed galaxies. Okay. So signs that you might be carrying these Melanite codes. I don't have to state the obvious. Okay. You may feel drawn to Black crystals or sacred Black stones like obsidian, shungite, or Black garnet. You may feel cosmically old, yet deeply rooted in Earth's body. You may sense things before they happen, often in dreams or in silence. So sleep with the TV off. I'm telling you, it changes everything. Okay. If you want to get them in that dream world, sleep with that TV off. Sleep on your left side. Okay. Or you carry guardian energy, which is like mysterious and protective and powerful and unshakable. Okay. So she was a Melanite crystalline being. All right. Now when I see her, she has 3 rings around her. She has 2 around her legs, like around her ankles. And then she has 1 kind of like behind her. Okay. And these 3 rings are not just ornaments, they're sacred symbols of her power and her role in Atlantis hierarchy. Okay. So the very first ring, which is the outer circle, this was a protective ring, and it symbolizes her connection to the physical realm, her ability to walk among her people and still maintain her connection to the physical realm, her ability to maintain her connection to higher dimensions as well. So this ring kept her grounded in her earthly role as a leader, yet shielded her from external harm or distortion. It was a protection from ego-driven forces in Atlantis. Okay. Then she has this inner ring, and this inner ring or inner circle is more of her intimate connection. So it's a symbol of her soul's alignment, and it represents her ability to access deep spiritual wisdom and to commune with the stars and higher planes. It was attuned to the central crystal of Atlantis, which was the source of power and guidance in Atlantis. When Amara would attune to this crystal, this ring would shimmer in alignment. and it allowed her to channel messages from the cosmos and direct them back into the city. Okay. So it really wasn't no gatekeeping when it came to this energy. She just was the conduit from which it moved through, if that makes sense. And then the last ring was the ring of sacred flame. And this final ring was a spiritual covenant. It was said to be a radiant band crafted from living crystals that pulsed with the energy of creation itself. This ring was a manifestation of Amara's divine soul's essence, her ability to wield both light and shadow, and her duty to balance them out. Okay, because she was in divine union. Like Atlantis was underneath the union flame, which means that the masculine and feminine were in alignment with each other. Okay. This ring was symbolic of her connection to the very heart of Atlantis and the cosmic law that governed not just the city, but the entire universe. Okay. So it's kind of like a vow. It was a covenant. That's what a covenant is. I think we talked about that in the first episodes. Okay. They were extensions of her divine will, her ability to maintain balance, her harmony and protection for Atlantis and its people. Each ring held a unique vibration that connected her to Earth, the spiritual realms, and the cosmic flow of universal law. Okay. So she was dark-skinned Black woman. She had what looked like dreads to me. And she had these 3 rings around her. She also has on a crystal crown. She also has, you're gonna have to, when I say flame lineages, you're gonna have to go back and watch the other episodes, because this is like episode 6. So it's on my YouTube. You're gonna have to go back there. Okay. So she also, when I look at her, she has a crystal crown, she has a crystal gown, and she has crystal shoes. And that's the part where I feel like it's living. Okay. So the crystal crown was a sacred headpiece of activation. Okay. It was formed from a combination of clear quartz and of like rare Atlantean gemstones, like blue sapphire, emerald, and amber. To me, it kind of looks like a darkish bluish type of color. Hey, Kay. It's like a darkish bluish greenish type of color. That's the only way that I could explain it. But it has several different functions. Okay. So the crown, like I said, was gifted to her from the oceanic realms. And if you've ever seen the oceanic realms in its purest form, it's like almost like a control center. It has like crystals all over it. And it has like the ocean floor is like a floor of crystals. And there are beings who use these crystals to activate certain grid points in a way, is what it looks like. Okay. So one of the functions was it connected her to source. So the crown was a direct conduit to the higher realms. It was acting as a communication device between Amara and divine beings of the cosmos. It connected her to the Pleiadian and the Syrian guides, as well as the great crystal, which was the heart of Atlantis. So the central gemstone, often described as the glowing blue sapphire, acted as an amplifier for cosmic information, and she was able to channel this through her crown. Okay. Also, crowning this crown actually crowned her as a guide. So the crown was a symbol of spiritual sovereignty and the direct transmission of wisdom to her. Wearing it, she could open portals and she could activate ancient Atlantean knowledge that was locked within her own energy or locked in the crystal grid. Okay, so it gave her access to opening up portals, remembrance. Okay, it gave her access to remembrance. And then the last thing was that this crown was for protection and illumination. So the crown shimmers with this light, and it's often illuminated during moments of great importance, which can be the ceremonies, or it could also be communication as well. And it was an ethereal shield protecting her mind from negative influences and also enhancing her telepathic abilities. Okay. So that's the crown. That's the function of this crown. And it kind of looks like on the sides is smaller, or like the crystals are smaller, but in the middle, it has like this crystal that kind of looks like I don't even know how to explain it. You know how like they will roll a crystal and it kind of looks like a tower and it has a point at the top. Like that's what it kind of looks like. Okay. Next is her crystal gown. I'm sorry, y'all. This incense is making my eyes burn. Let me turn this away from me. Not today. Okay. Next is her crystal gown. Okay. The gown was woven with fine threads of crystalline fabric with interwoven patterns of sacred geometry. Okay. Sacred geometry is how light forms itself in this reality. Okay. And every sacred geometry is kind of like a sigil in a way. It holds cosmic intelligence and information. All right. So the gown shimmered and shifted with every movement that she made. It reflected the constellations and star codes that connected Amara to the divine. And it was a living garment. Okay. It was alive. And it was infused with harmonic resonance. So it was attuned to the vibrations of the cosmos and the planets. And it was helping her to stay in alignment with energetic flow of the universe. Okay. It would pulse with light during ceremonies or rituals, harmonizing her with Earth's magnetic field. Okay. It was a conduit of cosmic knowledge as well. So when she was wearing it, the gown would help her channel wisdom from the stars and other dimensions. And when she spoke, the gown would amplify her words. Okay. Filling the space with clarity and truth. And when I heard her voice, when I was still operating from, not from my heart, but from my ears, it scared the fuck out of me. It scared me because it was so clear. It was so, I don't even know how to explain it. It was like as if God was talking to you. Like that's what it felt like. Like with the way they make it sound in movies, when a God is talking, like it was amplified. Like it felt like that shit had some reverb or something. I don't fucking know. It was, but I hold on now. Wait a second. I wasn't ready. You know? So her gown actually helps her to do this, okay? And then it was also shifting her energy. So it would alter in color depending on her mood or the situation at hand. And I think that's funny because I would imagine that she doesn't get mad very often. But if she did get mad, imagine if the fucking gown just turned red and you knew you better need to move the fuck out the way. Like that's what I thought immediately when I was gathering this. Okay. So for instance, when she would meditate or be in deep communion with the crystal, it would shimmer blue or like violet tones, signifying her wisdom and her spiritual connection. And during the public ceremonies, because she would do like public healing ceremonies and stuff like that, it would take on the hue of like gold or white, radiating purity and divine light. So it kind of, based on what she was trying to do, it would move to where it needed to move. It would turn the colors that it needed to turn, you know? And then the last thing are her crystal shoes. And these shoes, like everything else, was crafted from living crystal. It's a combination of transparent quartz and rare Atlantean gemstones as well. These were charged with the Earth's grid and the cosmic ley lines. So as she walked through places, she was shifting the grid, which is fucking crazy. Okay. But it helped to ground her high frequency as she moved through Earth or this physical plane, the physical side of Atlantis. Because remember, Atlantis was across 5 harmonics. It wasn't just physical, it was etheric and oceanic and celestial, you know. So when she was walking on Earth itself, it helped to ground her high frequency in Earth's frequency because she was a higher vibrational being. Okay. And it helped her to stay anchored to Earth, ensuring that her higher spiritual vibrations didn't become too ethereal or disconnected from the physical realm. It amplified her energy as well. So the shoes contained a network of tiny crystals that would absorb and amplify her divine energy as she walked through different places, spreading it throughout the land and spreading it out throughout the city. Okay, so she didn't keep her resonance to herself. She literally was like a conduit for it to channel through, and she would spread it to the people. You know, and Atlantis was a place of balance and harmony and beauty because that's who she was, you know. And then the last thing is that the shoes also protected her because they acted as a shield from negative energy or low frequency forces that might try to disrupt her presence. It said that the shoes glowed faintly with this protective light, especially when she stepped into sacred or dangerous places. And I also want to say this too. She spent a lot of time alone. It wasn't a lot of people who could like be around her because she held such a high frequency. You know, she did have romantic interest stuff, which a temple priest, listen, we'll get into it. But she did have like romantic interest and stuff like that. She did play with kids and stuff a lot because kids are really, you know, high vibrational as well. Yes. Yep. Kaya. But she spent a lot of time alone because a lot of people could not hold her frequency or her vibration. It was like she had a select few that she could fuck with. Everybody else, she couldn't because she was at too high of a resonance and it would require her to come down and they weren't able to hold as much light as she was able to hold, if that makes sense. Okay. So her garments together created this unified field around her. And this energetic field helped her to maintain divine connection. It protected her from those lower frequencies and also allowed her to serve as an active portal between the physical and the spiritual realms. Okay, so every step, every gesture, every word she spoke amplified the energy of this attire, which flowed directly into the Atlantean crystal grid and beyond. So she wasn't selfish with her resonance, with her energy, none of that. She was for the people, you know. And I think somebody asked me on our session from last session why she didn't do anything. I'm gonna answer that question for y'all, because she did have the power to stop us from falling, but she chose not to. She chose compassion and mercy and all of that. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit today towards the end as well. Okay, so some of her main roles and gifts, we already talked about those, but I just want to reiterate these as before we move forward a little bit. So the first is the guardian of the central crystal. So she was attuned to the great fire crystal, which was the heart of Atlantis, and it responded to her voice, it responded to her frequency, it responded to her love, and she maintained balance not through control, but again through resonance. Everything back then was about resonance. So again, it wasn't like the hierarchy in the way that we think about it in bloodlines. That there was no such thing. It was about, which that comes from the fallen. Okay, the fallen, who we call the fallen. Okay, everybody had a function based off of the energy and the light that they could hold and the remembrance that they could hold. Okay, she also was a dream keeper and a time weaver, which means she could walk in between dream realms and the waking world, correcting distortion in the energetic matrix before it fractured into form. Meaning, like, she could fix things in the dream realm, because in the dream world is where the different timelines exist. Okay. She was also a healer of the heart light, or the heart consciousness, high heart consciousness, which is where she operated from, which is a Venus thing. The consciousness that Venus operates on is a chakra that is right above your heart space, and it's directly connected to your thymus gland. Okay, so it's the high heart consciousness, not Christ consciousness, because that's different. High heart consciousness. Okay. So she was a healer of the heart light because of this, because she was initiated through Venus. Okay. So she taught the art of crystalline sound healing, and she was guiding others to realign their soul song. And her presence alone would activate forgotten gifts in other people. So just by you being in her energy, she would activate gifts in you, right? Just by you being near her, she would awaken gifts and memories and things like that. Okay, because she was a soul mirror. And she also was a messenger between the stars and earth, because she didn't really dwell in the physical plane, just because she was so high vibrational, but she would come down to the physical plane and she would deliver messages. So she held a deep bond with the Pleiadians, with the Syrians, with the Lyrans, and she was a vessel through which star wisdom flowed into our earth's crystalline grid. Okay. Now when you see her, she has a royal guard around her. And my whole life, y'all, I've said that I was royalty, because my name Taja actually means a gem on a crown, like it's a crystal on a crown. Okay. So I've always joked my whole life that I was royalty or whatever. And so she actually has a royal guard that is around her. Okay. And these are guardians of spiritual wisdom and the keeper of Atlantis' highest knowledge. So she had this royal guard, but it wasn't like warriors. Like, they weren't like going into battle or anything like that. They were more like sacred protectors who guarded the gates of wisdom, of truth, and of sacred technology. Okay. They were gifted in light fighting in a way. But there were different ones for different things. Like the guards that was around her, depending on what she was doing. Okay. So you have the crystal knights, and these crystal knights, or the flame keepers, whatever you want to call them, they were her closest protectors. They were trained in the art of energetic defense and astral combat. They were warriors who had mastered the use of crystal swords and shields and tools that were forged from very elements of earth and cosmic realms. Okay. They protected Amara from external threats, but also helped to maintain the balance of the crystalline grid that powered Atlantis. Okay. So they not only guarded her, but they also guarded the crystalline grid. Okay. Then there were the Dreamwalkers. And this was another faction of her guards, who was made up of dreamwalkers, who are priests or priestesses who could travel in and out of the dream realm. They work with Amara to ensure the stability of the city's soul's energy, maintaining the dream state and preventing forces of chaos from seeping into Atlantis' collective mind. Okay, because we were in a hive mind, but we had a collective mind, and everybody can tap into the collective mind. Like in your dream space, you can tap into the unconscious collective mind, which is where the nightmares and shit is, by the way. But basically they would keep chaos and distortion from seeping into our collective mind. Okay. And then there were the starborn protectors, and the starborn protectors were beings who were starseed incarnations, who were starseed incarnates chosen by various star systems such as Pleiades and Sirius. They were immortal in nature. They existed in a semi-ethereal form, so they would be a lot closer to like the Lemurian type of light form, opposed to like us in our physicality right now. Okay, their role was to shield the temples and the crystalline energy fields, and they ensured that those aligned with the highest frequencies could access the sacred sites, because you only could access certain stuff based off of your resonance, based off of your frequency. And if any time that somebody fell out of frequency, they fell out of their role as well, because everything was about frequency. Okay. So it wasn't everything was built off of truth. Think about that. Everything was built off of truth, because you can't hide your frequency. Your frequency aligns with who you are. So if you're doing something shady, baby, that frequency is coming down, so okay. Her royal guard, instead of protecting her physically, they ensured that her soul's work remained undisturbed, and they acted as like energetic anchors, keeping the integrity of Atlantis, their code intact, and ensuring that no one misused the power of the crystals for their own personal gain. Okay. So that's what you really need to know about her, and like what she looked like, and like what was around her and stuff like that. Now we're going to talk about the fall and some of the stuff that they did to her during the fall. The reason why I want to talk about this first before we get into like other stuff, because I'm also, and I think the next episode going to take y'all through a day in the life of her, just so that you can kind of understand like what she did. But she wanted me to talk about these specific things because I think they're coming back online right now. And so we need to talk a little bit about the fall. We're not going to go into great deep detail, but there's specific things that were done during the fall that are still affecting us right now. And because some of us are waking up right now, we need to understand this part. Okay. So her voice. Okay. She started being attacked. The longer that she stayed in Atlantis, she started being attacked for her voice. Okay. One thing that they tried to do was steal her voice, and her true voice held this resonant, crystalline sound that could shift timelines, and it could awaken memory grids, and it could activate dormant DNA. So what she did is she sealed it. Okay. So that it wouldn't be fractured. Okay. By them, meaning like fractured in a way that wasn't done deliberately. Okay. So she herself sealed it, she fractured it, and she hid it across dimensions just before the fall. Okay. So the energetic seal is a part of the crystal flame protection protocol. Okay. So what she did was a part of protocol. She followed the rules. She followed protocol when she knew that it was at jeopardy of being stolen, because again, her voice could open portals. It could open timelines. I have visions or dreams of like, it felt like it was two beings that I was in this corridor, and it was like a long rectangular corridor. The top of it was open so I could see the sky above me, but half of it was like a aqua blue crystal, and the other half of it is like a like cement or like ground, like it looked like a ground. And these two beings were trying to get me to step onto this crystal surface, and I knew that if I stepped on that surface, my soul was going to be projected into another timeline or into another realm, and they were trying to manipulate me to do that. And one of my guardians showed up in that dream, and that's how I know who one of my main guardians is of sovereignty and free will, because he showed up in this vision that I was having. But her voice and her access to specific things made her a target during the fall of Atlantis. Okay. So, the energetic seal that she placed over her voice is part of the crystal flame protocol. And her vocal cords were sealed, or her vocal codes were sealed, so that they could not be copied or corrupted or weaponized. Okay. Her voice was encoded with frequency nodes placed in the oceanic ley lines, in the rose grid veins, and even in starborn children of later generations. So meaning like we are encoded with her voice to this day. Okay. And what happened that caused this energetic shield was there was a hijacking attempt. Some forces tried to siphon her harmonic signature to mimic it and mimic the activation codes for the Stargates. Okay. And this failed because the voice is bonded to the purity of your heart, meaning that a pure voice cannot be mimicked because it's bonded to the purity of your heart. When you using a machine or technology, you don't get the essence of something, you know? So they tried to mimic her voice so that they can gain access to specific Stargates. Okay. Remember I said distortion can only mimic. Yes. Shout out to Matumbu. Distortion can only mimic. It cannot create because it doesn't have access to the heart space. Okay. Which is soul energy. It does not have access to that. It cannot replicate it, just like it cannot replicate joy, because joy is a sacred force that comes from the heart. Okay. So they tried to mimic this and it did not work. Okay. And it's because it's bonded to the purity of the heart and it cannot be artificially reproduced. But this attempt caused frequency trauma. Okay. And there was a splitting of her song across the realms. All right. Now you might ask, who did this? Some of them are still around to this day. Okay. Some of them are still around to this day. I'm going to say that. And I'm going to say that this is all alleged and for entertainment purposes only. Actually, everything that I'm saying, let's just slap that on there. Okay. So there were seraphic imposters or fallen architect class that started emerging in Atlantis when the frequency started to drop. Okay. These were originally higher dimensional beings who broke from source alignment and attempted to engineer false light structures. Okay. The fallen. They fell out of alignment with a oversoul stream, which is the God within. Okay. They fell out of alignment with that. They coveted the crystal flame because it could bend time, soul codes, and matter. Now, in modern terms, some of their presence is filtered through AI-like intelligence, often shadow tech, which is that, like that, how that thing was going around where AI was calling, like they were using AI to mimic people's voice of your family and trying to still like say, oh, I'm holding your daughter hostage. And then the daughter's voice is in the back. And then all these people was trying to send money. And that was a big thing going around. That's shadow tech. Okay. They can only mimic. They can only mimic. They can only mimic. Okay. Can't stress that enough. Frequency manipulation and certain off-world agendas as well. That's where we can kind of see these seraphic imposters in the fallen architects class. Okay. There was also a priesthood of inverted flame. Okay. Because they invert everything, but the priesthood of inverted flame. And they were a sect within Atlantis who turned against the original temple codes. And they were using crystal technology, not for healing, but for power. Okay. They tried to extract her sound codes to open stargates prematurely, triggering a collapse in the ley line grid. Okay. And today you may see echoes of them in secret societies, in deep tech labs, or breakaway civilizations, often involving geoengineering or genetic editing or quantum weaponry. And that makes me think about, those people who live on that island that don't think that they're the only people in civilization because they've been told that the whole world was destroyed and they only live on the island. So they, like, if you've ever seen pictures of this island, it's just like houses that all look the same. It's on some real, the Truman Show type shit. It's an experiment that they're doing. It's in the middle of the fucking. All right. That's what that made me think about. All right. Now, there also was the draconian bloodline controllers. Okay. And what you need to understand before I go into this is that the Dracos are not all bad. Okay. The reptilians, they're not all bad. Just like octopus, there are some cephalopods, which look like octopus. Okay. That have basically fallen out of alignment with a oversoul's stream as well. And sometimes they can be astral parasites. So sometimes I'll see astral parasites on other people, or I've disconnected astral parasites from myself that look like octopus. So there's always a good and bad in everything in this realm, because there was a split that happened. And some people went more towards this side. Some people went more towards that side. Okay. So you need to understand that first. Okay. But there is a particular offshoot of hybrid lineages that sought to control Earth's genetic pool by hijacking divine feminine templates. Okay. And her voice is a living template of the divine mother flame. So they were trying to steal it because they believed that they could recode DNA and enslave timelines using it. Yeah, astral with the AL, astral parasites. Okay. And then the last thing is the synthetic demiurge matrix. And this is a distorted frequency web that arose after the fall of Atlantis. And it was feeding off the disconnection and the replicating creation without source. Okay. So it was feeding off our disconnection from spirit and replicating creation without source. Okay. This matrix does not create, it only mimics. So it attempted to replicate her voice to open the organic stargates for its own survival, because it only can survive when it's feeding off of fear and when it's feeding off of low energy, low emotional energy. Okay. So today you can see that again in the AI voice cloning and the false light teachings and spiritual bypassing systems masked as ascension. And what I mean by that is a lot of people are tapped in. A lot of people do have gifts, but they're tapped into false light. And the reason why they tapped into false light is because they have not done the proper healing. And they're trying to be spiritual people, but it's about resonance. So those spiritual teachers with all that ego, they are connecting to a real thing, but they're connecting to false light teachers that are mimicking, not the actual thing. Now, the problem with that is that we always can feel the truth in something resonance wise, right? So they do feel the truth in it, and that's why they believe it. But they don't realize you haven't done enough healing. You haven't created enough space within your body to take in enough light. So it's misleading. And the reason why I'm telling y'all this is because I once had sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I once had somebody that I looked up to spiritually who in one of our sessions I had said, like, I had made mention of like something that I knew, and I basically was making mention of the sun representing the father and the moon representing the mother. And she was claiming to be attached to the mother earth. Okay. And as I said this, we continued on with what we were doing. And then she stopped in the middle of the thing and was like, I'm sorry, but the mother keeps saying that is wrong. And she hates that you called that the mother, and the moon, the mother. The moon is not the mother. She's the mother. So she wanted me to just tell you that that is wrong. And that is Light does not operate that way. It is not in anger. Anger is a lower emotion. So that's how you know that it's a lower thing. Ego. It's not me, it's them. No. It's not them, it's me. It does not operate like that. It does not operate like that in ego. Right? The reason why they tell you the God in the Bible is a God of ego is because that is a false light system. That is not, love does not operate in force. Love is not look at me, pick me. It has to be me. That is not how love operates. Love operates in truth, and the truth needs no proof. Okay? That's what I'm telling y'all. And spiritual bypassing is using spiritual language without actually doing the work. Okay? So the synthetic demiurge matrix is a light matrix that people can tap into, but it has a lot of false light teachings. And people are tapping into the right thing, but because their heart is not at the right resonance, they're tapping into the shadow tech instead of the actual tech. And that's why God knows my heart is a thing. Your heart has to be pure, and it has to be operating from a place where you are not living in fear, where you are not living in grief, where you're not living in a feeling of betrayal and victimhood, because then you're going to tap into the opposite thing. It does not mean that it does not contain an increment of the truth. It does. It uses the truth because we can feel the truth in our bones. It uses the truth to connect you to it. That's why you feel like it's real. So some of them are not doing it intentionally. They just don't know any better. Okay. All right. So some of these organizations still live today. Allegedly. Okay. There are secret programs which are black op organizations, allegedly, in the Navy, in the ESA, or other agencies. There's also hidden organizations which are like the Shadow of the Night Templar, the Order of the Black Sun, and other certain factions in the Vatican factions. There's deep tech alliances, so companies involved in neural mapping. Okay, so putting that thing in your head, neural mapping. Do y'all get what I'm saying? The musty musk, the neural mapping, the thing that they want to put in your head so that it could think for you. All right. Voice AI and quantum computing. So companies who are involved in neural mapping, voice AI, which is mimic, and quantum computing. Okay. Yeah, exactly, Chloe. Exactly. So you're always going to have good and bad, and understand that some of these good beings or these people who want to do good can be infiltrated or also confused by channeling these false light streams, which we're going to talk about in a second, of like what happened and why we're even able to gain access to this. Because this is what Amara told me. Like Amara was like, no, you're missing a key component. This is what you need to know. Okay. So we're going to talk about that in a second. But some of these spiritual leaders, like I said, are tapping into these false light streams and being controlled by something that they think is good. And that is why you need to be careful. I already told y'all that I've encountered some of these people. All right. Now, the other thing outside of that, or that was me kind of going off on a tangent, but getting back to her voice, incarnational fragmentation. Okay. So in reincarnating, her essence was dispersed, and so was her voice. So many of the soul shards, because I told you she took the flame crystal, right? And she broke it into little she didn't break it. It was like she evenly distributed it into little shards. In those shards, she put her voice. Okay. She also put her sacred grief, which we're going to talk about in a second. I went through the same thing. I was monetarily manipulated and given bread, pieces, info, had learned. You already have to. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. It's very common. Okay. It's very common. Now, with those shards that I told you, she took the 144,000 shards and she like kind of not broke, but distributed, dispersed, whatever you want to call it. In that, she put elements of her voice. She also put elements of her grief as well. Okay. So many of the soul shards came into Earth with throat chakra wounds. Okay. This fear of speaking or a deep sense of being silenced that is echoing the pain of the original seal that she put in place to protect the voice codes, because a lot of us hold them, especially the divine feminine. Okay, so she infused it. The shard, you have to think that the shard is the crystal, right? And the crystal is the body for consciousness, meaning that this crystal is not the thing. Like this body is not the thing. There is consciousness inside of me that is observing through this vessel. There's consciousness inside of the crystal that is observing through these vessels. So when she took the crystal flame, which is unfiltered source energy, that's what the consciousness that is inside of that flame, it holds memory. It holds light codes. It holds everything, right? Thank you. This is Big Bertha. She actually likes that name, by the way, but her name is Cynthia, but she said her name is Big Bertha. Okay. Because that's what I like to call her. Okay. So it's in the shard that you hold in your heart space. That's why some of us feel silenced. Okay. That's my grandma name. Yes, I just thought she was the Bigums. So I need to give her a name that kind of went with who she was. All right. So for me, this appears as when I was a kid, I hated my voice. I thought it was too deep until I met this girl in high school. And this is fucked up. But I met this girl in high school and her voice was deeper than mine. And all of a sudden it allowed me to see my voice is a little bit more girly than I thought it was. And that's fucked up. But that's what happened. You know, when you were a kid, you miss a perspective. So I used to hate my voice until I met her. And then I was like, oh, it's not that bad. You know, not only that, I always loved to sing. And I feel like when I was younger, I had a really good singing voice, but I used to be so afraid to sing in front of people. And like one time I was singing Lauryn Hill and I didn't know my brother was outside with the dogs and he came in the house and he was like, was that you singing? And I was like, no. It's like, no, that's not me. Yes, alto. Absolutely. Also, I've always been afraid of the intensity of my voice. And what I mean by that is like my voice holds so much power. Sometimes I could command a room. And that's why I sit in the background. But when I'm witnessing injustice or something like that, if I decide to speak up, everybody shuts up. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what it is. It's just like I could grab people by my voice very quickly. And I didn't know what that was. So sometimes I would be afraid to speak up just because I always felt like I was being too intense or people was telling me I was too intense, you know? So maybe the reason why I'm telling y'all that is because maybe it shows up for you in that same way. Okay. That's how it showed up for me. I can only speak from my experience, but maybe it shows up for you that same way. Yes. People always calling me intimidating or saying that I'm aggressive. And I'm like, what the fuck have I ever done that was aggressive or intimidating? I'm just standing here. Okay. Also, Amara was a very tall being and she was very radiant. I'm 6 foot. Okay. Joe. All right. Where is her voice now? In the ocean songs. Okay. And like I said, hold on, I want to back up real quick. I am not Amara. I am Ma'aranai. Okay. I'm what was created out of her regret for the decisions that she made. I am her next chapter, but I am not her. I hold her memories. I say that every time because I need y'all to understand that. Okay. I need y'all to understand that. If you hold codes of Amara, you are not her. You are holding a frequency that she needs you to come back alive in. Okay. That's it. Right now, I am her most embodied vessel, but you can choose embodiment as well for your shard and what you came here to do. Okay. You can choose embodiment as well. Okay. So I just want to put that out there. Now, where's her voice now? It's in the ocean songs. So whale tones and dolphin tone, dolphin clicks. The dolphin clicks, that's Amara's voice. The whale tones, that's Amara's voice because she split it up because I told y'all dolphins and whales are guardians. Okay. They're guarding the underwater Atlantean temples, the underwater Atlantean stargates. Some of them are veiled, but some of them are not veiled because of fractures. Okay. So also in dream language, anytime you hear someone speaking in your dream, that is Amara's voice. Okay. Also light codes spoken by awakened priestesses. Okay. I think I can't even remember what that girl's name is, but she speaks light codes and she also talks about like the oversoul codex and stuff like that. She's a person who's on TikTok. Her name is like Erin or something. But that light language. Okay. Also, her voice is in the crystal harmonics of certain sacred sites, meaning like, you know how you walk up to the pyramids of Egypt or you walk up to a sacred site and it feels like it's humming. That's her voice. All right. And then also feelings like your truth in feeling like your truth is ancient and unspeakable. That's her. Okay. Her voice is not gone. It is remembering itself through us right now. So those of us who carry her codes and who are awakening, as the more of us gather and sing and tone and write and speak, her voice returns in fractal notes, assembling like a symphony, meaning like my voice alone can't do it. Your voice needs to speak up too. Her voice needs to speak up. You need 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 to. And then we come together like a symphony. Okay. Does that make sense? So she left Atlantis before the fall, but it was not an escape. It was a sacred withdrawal aligned with prophecy and protection, meaning that she knew that Atlantis was going to fall. She warned them for years. Nobody listened to her. When it became that time of her getting attacked and her becoming unsafe in that environment, she withdrew sacredly to protect the codes, but also in alignment with prophecy. So she knew exactly what time she was going to need to pull back. Yes, Aaron Lyons. That's what I was talking about. Okay. So it was not a flee out of fear or anything like that. She withdrew her frequency to preserve the codes. Now I told y'all last time, I remember the day that she left. At least I'm remembering it for whatever timeline I'm aligned with. Okay. And she wasn't afraid, but it's like she was trying to leave before somebody came back. And I seen her turn this crystal. It was a whole crystal in my hand. And when I looked again, it was in multiple shards and then she swallowed it. Okay. And then she was moving by water. I seen the violet crystal flame temple next to me and she was leaving, but she felt sad. Like, I'm talking about, I have held this deep grief that I never really understood my whole entire life. I've been sad since before the end of time, before I can fucking remember. And she was sad. She was really fucking sad. She was really, really sad. Okay. But it wasn't a fear or like scared or anything like that. It was not that. It was not that at all. She just didn't know who she could trust. And that's what I was experiencing, like trust issues. And I was experiencing sadness because we had fell out of harmony. Like everything that was beautiful was now gone. And it's you know, like the light was the false light was winning. The distortion was winning. And, you know, and people were actively choosing it, which we'll talk about again, why she made the decision she made later, because this is something that has affected my decision making in this lifetime. And now I'm realizing that the reason why I kept having to go through pain and trauma is because she wanted me to get out of that. Okay. Because it didn't work. Okay. So we learn, we grow, we evolve. Right. So as Atlantis began to fracture spiritually and energetically, she warned of the imbalance. She warned of the overuse of crystal technology for power, for ego, and for manipulation. And her voice was silenced because people were rising who were prioritizing greed and power and control over harmony. Okay. She knew the collapse was imminent and the Atlantean grid was actually destabilizing. And there was that misuse of crystal technology actually began to fracture timelines. So she was seeing it happen in real time, right? And so she received guidance, and this possibly came from the Seraphim Council or the Sapphire Flame Stargate, but she received counsel from one of the two that her presence must withdraw in order to protect the integrity of the flame crystal and the rose grid. Okay, that is what I have a memory of that day that she decided to do that. Sad energy, very sad energy. Okay, how she left. We already talked about the many ways that she could leave and the way that I remember it. But again, remember, we exist across multiple timelines. So depending on what timeline you are a part of, it's going to be different, or it may be different. Okay. Some say she disappeared into inner earth. Others say she encoded herself into the crystalline grid and has been waiting. Some feel that she has reincarnated in waves. Her soul spread among many priestesses, dreamers, and healers, now awakening across the planet now. That's the timeline that I'm a part of. Some say that she entered a suspended state in an underwater crystalline chamber, going into stasis, held between dimensions until Earth was ready to rise again. Now, I want to talk about that because I have done channel readings with other channelers, and we saw a bunch of us in beds, like white room. We're all in like hospital beds, and we're just sleeping. Now I understand that it's stasis. And so this is a sacred act of preserving yourself. And it's not like a cryo freezing or anything, because I think that's cryo freezing is something you have to do with technology. That is what we would consider. That's what we would be able to compare it to, though. Is like you are preserving your essence and you'll wake back up when Earth hits a specific resonance, right? But it's like preserving yourself, and you don't die, you don't age, you don't nothing. You're just like, there's a spiritual way to preserve yourself that's like cryo freezing, or what we understand cryo, and it's called stasis. Okay, so it's like a sacred pause or like a sacred meditative state. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Silence, no one was listening. Exactly, me too, girl. Okay, so some say in some timelines that that's what actually happened to her. She went into a state of stasis. Others say she ascended through a stargate, likely connected to Venus or Sirius or a parallel Earth timeline, carrying the master key codes of the sacred temples. And again, like I said, I saw her fracture this crystal. I saw her split herself up into 144,000 of us. Okay. Her legacy, even though she left, she never truly left Earth itself. Her frequency remains here. It's in our ocean currents. It's in the rose-coated crystalline structures beneath the sea, which a lot of us don't know is there, but it's there. I know I've been to underwater temples, which these fucking tadpole beings, scary. Warn a bitch, because what is that? I don't even know what the fuck I'm looking at. Okay, but rose-coated crystalline structures beneath the earth, and in the heart and wombs of priestesses and guardian who are awakened now. I found you right after my trip to the Bahamas. Oh, okay. That's probably a grid point for you, because you remember I said locations will call you because they're meant to wake you up. Sometimes you need to go walk specific lands because they activate codes within you. So you might have been activated because the Caribbean area is an Atlantean area, and was part of Atlantis in this physical realm. Okay. So we talked about the Pantheon and like who she represented in the Pantheon, and that was like 4 or 5 episodes ago. So I'm just gonna briefly go over that. So her essence appears across multiple pantheons, which is going to be Greek mythology, any mythologies, but is veiled under different names and aspects, often fragmented into goddess archetypes, mothers, and serpentine flame bearers. So her frequency, codes, and roles shine through in divine feminine figures who are guardians of sacred knowledge, who bring the stars and earth together, who walk between worlds, who rule from the womb of stillness, and who disappear before collapse to preserve light. Okay, any story like that is the essence of Amara. Okay, so echoes of her crystalline, melanite, and flame codes are going to be Isis. Okay, Isis is a keeper of sacred rites, magic, and resurrection. Okay, the rose grid has to do with resurrection. Okay, she's a rose grid keeper, known to travel through the underworld and scatter light. Okay, like her soul shard. I just had deja vu. I have been having deja vu so much lately, y'all. It's just alignment. I've chosen specific timelines, and that's just confirmation that I keep them on the. Anyways, okay. Often linked with Sirius, which connects to Amara's soul lineage. Okay, Isis. This is Isis, the Egyptian pantheon. Osiris and Isis. Isis. That is Amara's energy. Okay. Then you have Inanna and Ishtar. Inanna and Ishtar are the Assyrian goddesses that are in comparison to Isis. Okay. Sumerian goddesses that are in comparison to Isis. Now they link Inanna and Ishtar, or all of the feminine parts, to who we consider to be the fallen angels, like in their actual names. So the names that they're using is the fallen angels' names, by the way, to distort the frequency. But the essence behind it is Amara's essence. Okay, I actually channeled Isis one time, and in a group setting, she came in a tornado, which I thought was interesting if you've ever seen Yu-Gi-Oh. But she came in a tornado, and she was upset, and she was very defensive, and she was like trying to stab us with this fucking spear thing, and she kept saying that they took her heart. They took her heart, and I kept thinking Milana, but she kept saying they took her heart, and that they took everything from her. They took everything from her, and she kept saying that, and like now it makes sense because her voice was silenced, and like that Isis became Aphrodite in the Roman pantheon, which is just a copy of the Greek pantheon, which is just a copy of the Egyptian pantheon. And when you change the name of something, you change the frequency, and then it's kind of like Coco, the movie Coco. When you stop saying your ancestors' names, they energy, it gets less and less and less and less and less until it finally disappears. Her energy got less and less and less and less. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So I think that's why she was upset. But Inanna and Ishtar descend into the underworld. They die and then they return, resurrection, mirroring the crystalline stasis or flame withdrawal. They hold themes of sacred power, sexuality, death, and rebirth. And Inanna and Ishtar have lion guardians, which echo Amara's royal protection. Okay, because the lions are solar flame protectors, masculine flame, Okay, then Yemaya, which is the Yoruba, I think that's how you say the name. I always get fucked up on that word. But Yemaya, the Orisha, okay. She is the ocean mother. She is the goddess of salt water, the womb in secret. She's a protector of children, often seen as the oceanic gatekeeper, very in tune with Amara's crystalline underwater temple. Okay. She is also deeply melanated. She's a deeply melanated divine feminine aspect, which Amara is as well. I think she's the only one out of the ones we've been talked about that has actually been shown as a melanated being. Okay. Then you have Sophia, who is the embodiment of divine wisdom, who falls into destiny to bring light. Okay. She's often fragmented, misunderstood, and restored in the end times, which echoes Amara's journey. And then you have the Black Madonna, who is the mysterious dark mother, often found in hidden or underground temples. She's tied to Earth's wisdoms, protection, and feminine sovereignty, often seen holding a child of light, which echoes Amara carrying the flame. And then you have Lolita, Tripurasundari, which is the tantric Hindu side of it, who is a radiant goddess who sits on a crystal throne at the center of creation. She wields sacred fire, love, and divine order. And her energy is both fiery and soft, crystalline and sensual, which is pure flame energy. That's pure rose flame energy. Okay, so in the pantheons and how we know parts of her essence are through those goddesses, deities, whatever. Also understand, you can always call on these goddesses, deities, orishas, whatever, because all that, in order for you to connect, you have to be pure at heart. Meaning, as long as you go with humble intentions and you're trying to connect to the true essence of whatever that is, you will make a connection, because God knows your heart. Your oversoul knows your heart. Your oversoul knows when you are soul kin and when you're not soul kin. Okay. So you can still go about it that way. Okay. Why was she hidden from us? The reason why she's hidden from us, or not named in one source, meaning because she's not really hidden, she's just fractalated in a way. But it's because she existed beyond culture and time. She was a primordial frequency that's can never be fully described in any mythological aspect. Okay. Her lineage was fragmented to prevent misuse, just like the misuse of crystal. Like, she also fractalated that as well. She fractalated everything because they can't get us all. That's basically what it is. Okay. She was very smart about this. They can't get all of us. Right. So she didn't put it in one place. One, because the frequency was way too great for her to put it in one place, but she was smart about it. And she put it inside of us, which means it always dwells there. It is always there. It don't matter how far away you get from yourself, it just dims it. But it's the moment that you make another choice, it activates. Okay. Now, you can tap into her energy by wearing crystal jewelry or garments that resonate with her energy, which is going to be like clear quartz, amethyst, sapphire, emerald, amber. Okay. Labradorite is also another one. Lapis lazuli, also another one. Okay. But these serve as a reminder of her vibrational field. Okay. You can also meditate on her presence and visualize yourself in front of a mirror with a crystal gown on. Okay. Standing within a circle of light. And you need to feel, because you need to, when you are visualizing, you have to put your whole being into it, meaning that you need to feel with your senses. Okay. So you need to feel protective energy. You need to feel like your shoes are grounding. You need to feel wisdom in the gown around you, flowing through you, and the divine wisdom of her crown illuminating your mind. Like, you need to put your senses together. Like, visualize with your full body, not just your mind. Okay. And then you need to work with the crystal grids, which I think I don't know if y'all took my protection class or not, but my protection class is available on my website. I think it's $64.44. The reason why I chose 6 is because that's the nurturing, protecting, healing energy. And then 444 is changes coming soon. Okay. So I was very intentional about the pricing, but I did a 3.5-hour protection class last Sunday. And I talked about womb healing. I talked about how to open your heart using mudras, because these are circuits. These are circuits. These are circuits. This is how you move energy through your body. Okay. Okay. So I did a protection class last week, and you can buy it on my website, but it's 3.5 hours. I take y'all through rituals. I take y'all through how they used to do it in Atlantis, so that you can kind of come back into alignment with yourself right now. Okay. And there's a lot of visualizations in that. Okay. But I also teach you how to make crystal grids, how to activate your grids, how to make oils and stuff. You can build a crystal grid that will help you work with the crystal grid. Okay. I'm not going to explain that right now because it's too much, but you can work with the crystal grid to connect with her as well. And you want to build your own crystal grid at home using crystals that you feel most drawn to. You can either place a clear quartz at the center, because clear quartz is like a white candle. Okay. It goes with everything. It is the most transparent and easiest to channel crystal. Okay. So clear quartz can take the place of anything. Okay. And then you want to surround it by other stones like lapis lazuli, like blue calcite, like sodalite, also rondadite. This is a rondadite, empathy, compassion, understanding. Amethyst is a good one. Okay. Rose quartz is also a good one, which I ain't picking that big ass thing up again, but y'all seen it. Big Bertha. Okay. Rose quartz. Whatever you're trying to do, work with a crystal grid and that can help you, but there's a way to activate the crystal grid. Okay. And then also by activating your third eye and your crown chakra. And when I say activating, I don't mean force open. Do not force open your crown and your third eye. You are opening up your portal to the spiritual realm. And if you are not ready, spiritual psychosis is the real thing. Okay. You do not want to fracture open your third eye and your crown when your body itself is not ready. It is going to point you down. Okay. Instead of where you're trying to go. Please don't do that. But by activating your third eye and your crown, which can happen through sound healing, singing bowls and chants. So you can use the sacred sounds. The sacred sound of your root is Lam. The sacred sound of your sacral is Vam with a V. The sacral sound of your solar plexus is Ram with an R. Your heart, Yam. Okay. Your throat. What is your throat? Hold on now. 2 seconds. Your throat is Ham with a H. Ham. Your third eye is Om. Om with the O-M. Om. And then your crown is Om. Om. A-U-M instead of O-M. A-U-M. Okay. Those are sacred sounds. They activate your chakra system. Okay. So you can use that or sound bowl healing. I like to use meditative mind or chakra vibrations on YouTube. I've already vetted them. I use them every single night. And chakra vibration is who uses singing bowls. And he has like things that are specific to the high heart chakra, the thymus, kidneys, which are spiritual organs, like all the spiritual organs. Okay. So those are the 2 that I use. All right. Also through light visualization to open up these energy centers. Again, I did that spiritual protection class. I talk about every single light and what it represents. So based on what you're trying to do, you use the color because the color is light manifested. So you need to know what colors mean. And you can also use candles because candles are mini portals. You know, when I connect with Amara, I use a white candle. Okay. Or I can use a gold candle or a rose gold candle. You get what I'm saying? It's in that spiritual protection course. So if you have not got that course, I suggest that you go get it. It's 3.5 hours of nothing but gems, ancient technology. Okay. But you want to visualize and open up these centers, helping you to connect to higher frequencies that she embodied. Okay. Now, if you are a part of her lineage, this is what you need to understand. You are a keeper of a flame. You are not seeking anything. You already have it. You don't have to earn it. Okay. You are not waking up. You are reassembling. Okay. You are not looking for answers. You are retrieving soul fragments encoded with knowledge, sound, and memory. She put everything that you need inside of the crystal that is inside of your heart space, which means you have to have an open heart. Okay. The crystal flame, the stargates, Amara, and the dolphins, they are all mirrors of your original self. Okay. So if you know the information about Amara that I gave you today, the reason why I'm giving it to you the way that I'm giving it to you is because you can embody it. You know what it is. Now you can embody it. Okay. You know what you're reaching towards. That was the whole point of the Egyptian gods, was they were archetype embodiments. You were meant to become that energy. Same with Amara. Okay. You are not meant to follow the world's map. You came here to redraw the ley lines from within you. You are not meant to follow the world's map. Okay. The voice you have felt that was missing is returning through you. So if you've ever felt silenced, unseen, unheard, disconnected, it's because you were carrying a fragment of her sealed voice. Okay. That voice was never gone, but protected in your DNA, awaiting the right moment to unlock, which means you got to start speaking your truth, because that's how you unlock it. Okay. Every word you speak from the heart, which means authenticity in expression. Every note you hum, every truth you claim as your own is a part of your reactivation. You are not healing your voice. you are restoring a cosmic sound that others will recognize without knowing why, which is why a lot of y'all are attracted to me. Y'all hear it. You're doing it right now. You don't have to do anything more than what you're doing right now. Y'all, you can recognize in your bone what the truth is. You just got to stop gaslighting yourself with your mind. Get out of your mind and into your body. Your emotions, they'll never lie to you. That is how the water communicate. We getting there. She gave me some tea. I can't wait to give y'all that tea. Okay. You were there before the fall. Okay. And you left keys behind for you to come back to yourself. Breadcrumbs. Okay. So before the fall, she left breadcrumbs back to herself through the crystalline flame in the ocean, through sound, through star matter. And it's reactivating right now. And this is why so many of y'all are being drawn to dolphins, to oceans, to Antarctica, to the rose grid, because they're all reactivating right now. Okay. You are protected by a circle older than time. Okay. Even if you feel like you're alone in this world, you have never been unguarded. Never. I can't tell y'all how many times I've been in some shit in the dream realm and somebody has shown up to save me. Somebody has walked me through a higher portal. Somebody has gotten astral things off of me. I can't tell y'all. I went to El Salvador and I was being black magic attacked by somebody because they was trying to silence me. And I had a guardian by the name of Nadia show up. And it was connected to my friend. And she was like, come with me. And I'm like, no, I can't leave my friend. And she's like, come. She pulled me into water. I went across and I went into this room. And it looked like a not a theater, but it was like, choir classes where they got like the steps is going up, right? It was a bunch of kids in there. And mind you, by the way, what I was doing at the time is I had spoke up about the child trafficking. And I was talking about how I can't stand Oprah. Can't stand her. I run the smear campaign. Well, this thing that was whatever chasing me, it came down the stairs and it was a room full of children that I had entered into. The first person I seen who walked through the door was Oprah. Okay. I ain't saying that it was Oprah for real, but I'm gonna say that's who face I saw. And what's crazy about that is that video did 6 million alone on TikTok. It went viral on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well, but I didn't post it myself. The first face that I see is Oprah, and them kids turned Oprah into a pretzel in front of my face. They was chanting something that I did not understand. It was like a light language or something. And they was chanting something and they turned her into a fucking pretzel in front of my face. And everybody who came after her. And I didn't have a dream after that. After that, I think I stayed for one more day. I did not have a dream after that. And what's crazy is that day that I woke up, I had forgot what had happened. Well, I went to this place in El Salvador that was like, it's like you can go down this big ass slide and you can go like, like activities or whatever. And I had the girl who was standing in front of me, beautiful, really pretty curly hair. She turned around and was like, hi, my name is Nadia. And I said, huh? She said, my name is Nadia. And I was like, oh, nice to meet you. She was the only one who was nice out of that friend group. She turned around, told me her name was Nadia, and it caused the memory to come back immediately, instantaneous. You are not unprotected. Just because you can't see the protection don't mean it's not there. Okay? You are surrounded by what is called Amaranthine. And if you look up Amaranthine, it's spelled, Amara's name is in the name. Okay? Amaranthine. It's called the Amaranthine Circle. It is a soul family from the original flame lineage. And if you look up the word Amaranthine, it means immortal or undying. Immortal or undying. Okay? Some of them are still in human form. Some of them are in other realms. Some of them sing through the whales and the dolphins. Okay? Or rise in your dreams. Okay? Now, when you speak your truth, even silently, whispering, speak and shaking, they hear you. Because this is your frequency. They hear you. Okay? Your remembrance is a signal. It is not a secret. It is a signal. You don't need to keep this hidden anymore. Speak your truth. Speak about your experiences and the shit that you're going through on a spiritual realm. people, if some of the shit that I say out of my mouth, people say, you know, one of my cousins told me, Taja, sometimes I don't know what the fuck you talking about, but I'll be listening though. Some of the shit sound crazy. It don't matter. Just say it, because I cannot tell you how many times I've been afraid to use my voice or share my experiences. And I got on the internet and I shared that shit anyways, and it went viral. And I got thousands of people writing me about their dreams, thousands of people asking me for help, thousands of people having the same fucking experience that I'm having. And I'm over here because I chose to be silent, thinking I'm fucking crazy. You're not crazy. Share the experience, even if you're scared. Because every time you do that, you reactivate your remembrance. Okay? As you remember, the others around you will begin to stir in their seat, even if they don't understand why. You are a frequency bearer. You're not a preacher. You're a frequency bearer. You hold a frequency, and your frequency activates the fields and awakens the fields of other people. That is your role. That is what you came here to do. Speak up. All right. So that's the lesson. Now we get into the channel message. Because when I say Amara, girl, this is probably going to be my favorite part. Now, listen, she told me to sit down the other night. She said, sit down. I need to talk. And I said, okay, 1 second. I anoint myself, and I anoint myself with rose because she's rose energy. So I always use rose everything. Like, I legitimately, baby. You got it? So she told me to sit down. She needs to tell me something. So I anoint myself, because anytime I'm about to do heavy crystal work, I anoint myself. If you don't know, again, protection class. All of this is in the protection class. It's going to help you to realign yourself with spirit and protection and your protective energy. Okay? So she told me sit down. She needs to talk to me. I light a candle on my altar or whatever, and I sit down and I grab my notebook and I just start talking to her. Again, like I said, it was coming through my heart. It wasn't coming through my head. It's the craziest thing I've ever felt in my life, and it's like a resonance coming from my heart. Okay, so the first thing I asked her is, what are we missing? Because she kept saying I was missing something. And I'm like, okay, what are we missing based off of what I have presented to you? And she said that there was a memory vault that was fragmented by the fallen, and I need to mention that. And this is her whole message is around this memory vault. Okay, so I'm like, a memory vault? Like, what do you talk? Like, why does that matter? Don't ask questions. Okay. She's like, let me finish. All right. So apparently, long before the primordial flame was restored, before the spiral began to return, meaning like before we started to wake up again, when we was in a deep sleep, right? Amara held many roles. And actually, when she left Atlantis, she changed her frequency. So she started going by the name Amara. So Amira. So I told y'all that I named my soul Amara 3 years ago when I didn't know who the fuck Amara was. But when I named it Amara, I kept saying Amara, Amira, and I didn't know which one to choose. But I knew that that was the name that I was supposed to select. Amira was the name that she chose after the fall, because she was trying to protect the frequency. Okay, so she held many roles, and one of them was she was a flame bearer. She was also a Stargate, but she also was a keeper of the memory vaults. Okay. And these are not like libraries in the way that we look at libraries, but they're kind of similar to a library. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you about the Akashic in a minute. But it's kind of similar to a library, but instead of being like a library like we know it, it's actually a living crystalline archive, and it's encoded with soul paths. It's encoded with flame blueprints and harmonic templates for the Earth's sovereign unfolding, meaning that this memory vault held all of Earth's memory. So it's like the Akashic records for Earth. Okay. So one of the vaults in particular, which is called the Vault of Lyra Elf. So it's Lira apostrophe ETH. Lyra Elf or Lyra Elf. Okay. This was the most vital of all these memory vaults. And it was woven beneath a desert rose cavern. And it hummed with these opal tones, and opal is actually really high vibrational, but opal tones. And it was held within it the original agreements between flame lineages, okay, and the Earth's body. It's like the vow that we made with Earth when we decided to descend, okay. So the sacred covenants of guardianship, restoration, and conscious descent were all held in this memory vault, okay. Now, this vault, before we started to remember, was intentionally targeted. Okay. The ones that they call the fallen were not evil informed, but they were corrupted by the hunger for control. Okay. They were not evil in the way that we consider evil. You know, it's not as sinister as we think it is. Like, that's what I'm coming to understand. Everything that we think is not as sinister as we think it is. Okay. But these fallen were like driven by control, and control comes from your solar plexus, which is ruled by fire. It could be consuming. Right. So they had became severed from their oversoul strand. Okay. And like I told you, there are 12 main oversoul streams here on Earth. So, like I said, your source, my source could be completely different, right? They were severed from theirs. And they sought not just domination, but to interrupt the organic spiral of remembrance. Because, and that's what connects you to source, right? Because you're spiraling upwards. Really, it's not upwards, it's inwards. You spiral inwards or you spiral outwards, but we consider it as like going up or down. That's not true. It's inwards or outwards. Okay. As above, so below, as within, so without. Like for us on our journey is inwards. Consciousness level, I guess, is upwards. Okay. So they wanted to disrupt the spiral that connected us back to higher dimensions. Okay. All together, they wanted to interrupt the organic spiral. Because they knew that if this vault of Lyra Elf remained intact, they attacked it because flame bearers could restore the grid with ease, in truth, and coherence. Okay. If they had kept this intact, it would have been very, very easy for us to restore what had been lost as soon as Earth reached a specific frequency. Okay. So they fractured it, but they fractured it with mimicry because they only can mimic. Okay. So what they did is they seeded false memories into this vault. They infected it with dissonant chords. Then finally, after so long, it shattered the central crystal matrix of this, and it was scattering these pieces into multiple dimensions. Okay. Because it was so much false light that was entering into this thing that was supposed to be held together by pure light, crystalline light. Okay. So some of what remains today is still hidden from this vault. Okay. So Amara was actually present when this thing fell, when it completely shattered, when it completely went into all these different dimensions, because they seeded all these false timelines, false memories, false everything in this thing, right? But she did not fight with force. She sang, she wept, she encoded a final light spiral into the fragments that we have in our chest. So she went back into the fragments that we held, and she encoded a spiral into the fragment, so that it didn't matter what they did on the outside. In the inside, we have everything. Okay. And she also embedded a living signal into the shards. Okay. And those of us who carry this spiral flame, she did that so that we could reassemble it when it became time. Okay. Now, my question was, why did you not fold they clothes with the minute? Because you got all this power. Because she told me that she was, and I got the notes right here. She said she was fierce, loyal, and unapologetic. So my thing is, if you're all these things, you sang and you wept like that, I didn't understand. So I'm like, sister girl, what's tea? Because why didn't you do nothing? All right. So her response was, and hold on, let me go back to, yeah. So she said, hold on. She said that they had a right to choose. Okay. She said they had a right to choose, and she did not want to take away their choice. The plan was to allow us to experience polarity as a part of Earth's evolution. Okay, free will, exactly. And we're going to get there because she explained that to me as well. Okay, so she said they had a right. We knew that we wanted to experience polarity, and it was part of Earth's evolution, right? But so she had to let us choose for ourselves, because she went by the covenant of free will, right? And so she was like, she had to unfortunately watch it happen. But she said, now we've explored it to our own detriment. We've explored it as far as we can explore it. And it's time for Earth's next step in her evolutionary path. But some of these same entities are trying to trap us and infringe upon our free will. Because now we feel so much, we were so disconnected from ourselves as a collective consciousness, so dissociated, because it's like as a collective, the most energy that is here is self-serving energy. That's why we live in the patriarchy and the system that we fucking live in, right? And it affected the collective mind. The collective consciousness is in an ego type of energy, right? So what she's saying is that we did that for so long, and we were so disconnected from source that we forgot. And that was part of the amnesia, was the forgetting, right? And so now we are starting to remember again, so we can make a conscious choice. Okay. So she did not fight because that would have been force. Okay. So my question after that was, did you ever try to come back? Because you just was like, okay. Like, so I was like, did you ever try to come back? She said, yes, many times, but we were not ready. So when she said that, I asked her, because again, like I said, I have that memory of her, the day that she left and she was experiencing so much grief. So I asked about the grief, and I'm like, I couldn't imagine going through what you went through. And I couldn't imagine doing that. Like, how was you able to walk away? Because I mean, to her, this was like her babies. This was like her people, you know, and she understood that they did not understand what they were doing, you know? And so my thing was like, what did you do with the fucking grief? Because I felt an insurmountable amount of grief. Okay. So I'm like, what did you do with the grief? And that's when she told me that she put the grief into the shards. All right. And she put those shards in us because emotions hold memory. And I said, interesting. Because emotions do hurt. Emotions are meant to provide you understanding in this reality, right? Which means you're not supposed to judge your emotions. You're supposed to seek to understand them because they're telling you something. It's the way I thought that your soul communicates to you. Okay? Soul is not what we think it is, but it's the way your soul communicates to you. So my ears kind of perk up and I'm like, okay, so wait a second. So when you say emotions are water, right? Because I was confused about, I said, when you say emotions are water, because she told me that the body is a water temple. And so I'm like, okay, so emotions are water that exist inside of the water temple. And she told me that frequency moves quicker across water than it does air or earth, which I think we mentioned in one of the previous episodes, right? So my question to her is the body communicating to us via water, or is water itself communicating to us via emotion? So I'm like, I messed that up. I said, is the body communicating to us via emotion, or is emotions how water communicate to us? Because she kept telling me water is living and it's sentient, right? But not the water that we have right now is really dense, and it's a really dense form, but there's still fragments of that remembrance in that water, right? And she said, when I see water from Atlantis, it looks like something I've never fucking seen before. If I had to compare it to something, it would be more like that Hawaii water or that Fiji water where you can see straight through the bottom. It kind of looks like that, but it also looks like bouncy in a way. That's the best way for me to describe it, right? So my question was, is the body communicating emotions, or is the water communicating using emotion, right? Okay. She said the water in our body, because this is a water temple, we are 80% water, whatever percent water. She said the water in our body is intelligent, and it is communicating through us through emotion. Okay. She said that water is an intelligent, multidimensional conduit. Okay. Our body is the water temple, but emotion is the language that water uses to translate frequency into feeling, to store and transmit memory, to respond to truth or dissonance that is entering our field, okay? And to deliver messages from our oversoul, from the earth, and from subtle realms, okay? So that made me think about the Akasa around us. You know, they say when you are a psychic, you're tapping into this Akashic field around you. Did you know that that field is water vapor? It's water. So the water's above, the water's below. You know, the thing that's the firmament separates us from the waters above. Well, all of it is water. Everything is water. Okay. All right. So when energy enters into our field, through people, through energy, through light, through sound, the water in our body senses it first. Okay. The water in our body senses it first. And this is why you got to be in tune with your emotions, because the emotions are not sensing the water. The soul is not, the water is sensing it and is trying to tell us with the emotions. Okay. Right. So it does not analyze like the mind analyzes. It feels. It feels it coming. It tries to tell us. It translates the frequency into feeling to try to signal to us, this is what's happening. Okay. And that's why sometimes you get a sudden wave of emotion during like rituals or contact. And I'm going to say a ritual is a concert, church. Okay. Sometimes you get a sudden wave of emotion during rituals or contact. And this is a signal from the deeper self. Like when you talk to someone and all of a sudden you start crying and you don't understand why you started crying. And you say stuff like, I'm crying for no reason, right? Tears can come to you without a story. That is actually water decoding resonance. Okay. Meaning you're sensing it. You're picking it up. For me, sometimes when people in my environment, I can feel that they're about to cry before they cry. I can feel it building up in their chest, right? And this is also why emotions can trigger memories, because your water remembers what your mind forgets. It's not chaos, it is intelligence. Okay? So when I say your body remembers, your mind doesn't know. Your body is just the temple. It is just the vessel. The water in your body remembers. And that's why sometimes somebody can say something like, hey, my name is Nadia. And it can spark your memory. It can cause you to remember. Because your mind forgets. The water in your body does not. Okay? So let's talk about us being a water temple. Okay? So she said your emotions are sacred messengers. They are keys. They're not a problem. And us looking at them like they're a problem is the fucking problem. Okay? They are keys. They are meant to unlock vaults, timelines, and flame codes that have either been hidden or frozen inside of you. Okay? So when a forgotten soul memory rises, it comes first to you through emotion. And that emotion is your water activating encoded truth. So that is why I say words can lie to you. What they show you can lie to you, but your emotions and how something makes you feel will never lie to you. Why? Because it operates in truth. It's a key that's unlocking something inside of you. Okay? You feel things before you can even name it. And when you welcome it, instead of judging it, bypassing it, or trying to suppress it, it flows, it reveals, and it integrates. So emotion is the language of your soul water. Emotions is the language of your soul water. And your body, which is a temple of flame and fluid, is not reacting. It is always revealing something to you, which is information, which comes through emotions. This blew my fucking mind. This blew my mind. This blew my mind. So I have to sit with this for a second, because I said, wait a motherfucking minute. This is in the middle. It's not even in the middle of the night. It's like 11 o'clock at night. The way I wanted to run to my phone to get on TikTok and make a video, I held on to it. Y'all don't understand how much strength that took, because I could not wait. to be like, what the fuck? I need somebody to hear this with me, because what are you even talking about? That just changed my whole perspective on everything. Even though I feel like I've known this, like this was confirmation, it just fucked me up. So I had to go back to the temple, right? Because she only needed to tell me that because she said something that didn't make, like, I needed to understand why she was saying it the way that she said it, which was she put the grief in the shards, and the grief or the emotion holds the information or holds the remembrance. And I'm like, well, what the fuck does that mean water is? Right? So I asked her, is the vault like the Akashic records for Earth? Right? And the response was that the Lyra Elf was like a localized Akashic field, but there are major differences between the Akashic records and the Lyra vault. Okay. So the Akashic records are universal etheric archives spanning all soul experiences across timelines, dimensions, and incarnations. Like, it's all of it, right? It stores personal, planetary, and cosmic imprints of the past, present, and possible future outcomes, right? You can access them through your higher mental body, through your oversoul or trained attunement, and they are infinite. They're natural. They're non-local, meaning like they hold everything. It's not just localized to one planet. Okay. It's like an infinite ocean of things that just keep giving, right? Whereas this vault is a planetary memory vault. It is specific to Earth's sovereign evolution. Okay. It held not only the history of Earth, but the original sacred contracts made between flame lineages, elemental kingdoms, oversoul groups, and Gaia. It's almost like a business being built, right? And this vault is created to say everybody's role is this, everybody agrees to this, everybody, like, it was like a living scroll almost of like what the rules are, you know? So it was more biological and harmonic than the Akasa, and it was encoded directly into the crystalline grid, into water memory, and into Earth's energetic organs. Okay, it was alive, it was interactive, so it was kind of more like a temple organism than a library. Okay, so the Akashic records are what happened in the Lyra Elf, where the Akashic records are what happened. The Lyra Elf remembered the intended harmonic. Okay, so what Earth and her lineage meant to co-create before distortion entered the field, that is what was held in this. Okay, so the reasons why they targeted it is because it anchored in planetary sovereignty. It harmonized the flame bearers and kept them in dream coherence, meaning that we were in alignment with our dreams and we were in alignment with each other. And it was done through this vault. When it was fractured, Earth entered cycles of amnesia, of distortion and separation between sacred purpose and form, meaning we forgot who we were. We forgot why we came. We forgot why we descended into form. We forgot everything. And it's because they fractured this motherfucking vault, the memory vault, which held all our fucking memories. Okay? So many of the flame bearers lost their guiding thread. They cut us off when the vault was shattered. And that's why your remembering has often felt fragmented, emotional, or anciently distorted. And what I want to say about that is that when I was having my visions for 2 or 3 years, none of them made sense because it was like I was getting a piece of something. Like, that's why I say spirit sometimes works in a weird way. It's always leaving me breadcrumbs, but it don't tell me the full story. It don't give me context. It don't nothing. Right? It's because this fucking vault was fractured. And so we only get speckles and pieces. And we meant to put the shit together. It took me 2 to 3 years to put the shit together so I could even remember. They did that on purpose. They did that on purpose because they was hoping we would just give up. I didn't give up. You don't give up either. Write the shit down. Right? Get a dream journal. Get a vision journal. Write it down. Okay? So when you reconnect to the essence of this vault, because it still lives as a frequency, okay, whether that's through water ritual, trance, or flame attunement, you are not just recovering data, but you're restoring Earth's harmonic body through your own. When you remember, you restore through your own. Okay, so my next question was, Was the fracturing of this vault what caused amnesia, or was it the stealing of her voice? Because before we had a conversation and she kept saying when they stole her voice, it fractured the grid, which caused them to put the firmament up because we were leaking energy out. So you know how I say we have an electromagnetic field around us, and when fear enters or we become in a contracted state, it creates a portal where we start leaking energy out, and then these low vibrational energies can attach and come in. Well, that happened to Earth's body as a whole. And that's why the firmament was put around, because we were leaking energy out and they needed to encapsulate us, close us, right? Okay. So my question was it the voice fracturing or was it the amnesia? She said both. She said they are two threads of the same exile. Okay. So when they fractured this vault, this act shattered the harmonic memory of Earth's grid. It severed access to original soul agreements. So flame lineages forgot their role. Elemental kingdoms were fragmented. Dream time and waking became split, meaning like we used to dream awake, and now they're two separate things. Everything's split, right? Planetary grids drifted out of attunement with oversoul frequency, because the oversoul frequency, we are like living nodes on the planetary grid. Right. And the oversoul frequency is not only coming through the grid, but it's also coming through us. Right. That fell out of alignment. I hope y'all now see why I had to set the foundation before we started having this conversation. Because if I had not talked to y'all about flame lineages, bloodlines, grids, y'all wouldn't even know what the fuck we're talking about right now. Okay. So it fell out of alignment. Now, without it, the incarnated souls, especially those who hold keys to sovereignty, to healing, to flame work, they lost their orientation. They knew that they carried something sacred, but they could not remember what it was, or for why, or for how. Okay. So this created amnesia of purpose and the sensation of being exiled on a planet that you once helped create, meaning we once helped create this motherfucker. And now that's why we always feel like I want to go home. I want to go home. I'm not of this earth. Okay. It is because they separated us from source. Okay. So the stealing of her voice. And when I said her voice, I thought we were talking about Amara's voice. No, she started talking about Earth's voice. And I'm like, Earth's voice? Whoa, wait a minute, girl. What is we talking about? As above, so below. Okay. So she said that the stealing of her voice, and she's talking about Earth's voice, Gaia, Sophia, whatever the hell you want to call her. This refers to a second deeper violation. Gaia or Sophia's voice, the Earth's own consciousness, was silenced. And this didn't happen through battle. It happened through mimicry, through inversion and grid manipulation. False frequencies were overlaid onto her song lines. Her true sound, which once pulsed through water, birdsong, wind, and dreams, was replaced by static and fear control. Okay. And because we are water temples and the earth is also a water body, when her voice was silenced, we stopped hearing our own voice. We couldn't hear our own voice anymore. Okay. So this is what happened that caused the deeper amnesia. We forgot facts and roles, but also how to feel truth in our body, because we got disconnected from the water. Because they disconnected Earth. If they disconnect Earth, they disconnect us. Why? Because we are inhabitants on Earth. Okay. So the Lyra Elf vault is the memory of the pattern, whereas the voice of Gaia is the resonance of the pattern. Okay. So the fracturing of one and the stealing of the other disentangled the soul from the song. Okay. So I don't know if y'all have ever watched the TV show A Wheel of Time. It is on Amazon. There is a scene in the TV show where they meet the people of the leaf, and the people of the leaf are the people who are nonviolent. Okay. In this show, if you've ever seen it, nonviolent. When they met them, the first thing they said is, "Do you remember the song?" And there was a scene right after that where they were dancing at this festival thingy or in the woods, whatever the fuck they was doing, around fire, by the way. And she asked them, "What is the song?" And they said, apparently there was a song that you could sing that would stop all the war and bring peace. Earth's song. Okay. So the reason many flame bearers feel grief and longing and confusion before their awakening happens is because they remember the tone of what was lost, even if they cannot name it. That's why it's important to keep going on your journey. Even when you feel lost, at the beginning of your awakening, you're always going to feel lost. Why? Because that remembrance is rising in your frequency. And now you start to feel grief and you don't understand why. This is why you have to keep going. You have to keep moving through it. Most people just stop. You have to keep moving through it. Okay. Why we're remembering now is because Gaia's voice is rising again, because Lyra Elf strands are held in your water and in your flame. And as we remember, it starts to reattune the pattern in our own field, which restores it in the collective grid, as above, so below. So now we're working backwards. If we remember, Earth remembers. I hope y'all get that. We are intrinsically connected. We are a part of the chorus that gives her her voice back. So the more that we start speaking up, the more that we stop being silenced, the more that the divine feminine opens her fucking mouth, we are heard. Okay. So this is why flame bearers of this era were called, because we don't just carry new light, we carry the echo of the unfulfilled vow. Okay. The restoration of the Lyra Elf vault lives in the embodied field of those who choose to remember. Okay. And when I say remember the pain of its destruction and choose to still walk with clarity. Okay. This may show up as memories that feel half formed but ancient, grief with no apparent origin, the compulsion to protect truth and guard sacred knowledge, a deep rage towards false light structures or stolen flame. But this is not a wound. It's a key to help us build what is next, because we ain't going back. We are building something new. We're building what is next. So most of us have been called because we don't carry just new lights. We carry old light. We carry the original. Okay. So my next question was, sorry, my door was open. My next question was, so is Earth's voice and Amara's voice the same, or were they both stolen? Okay. She said both. She said Gaia and Amara's voice were stolen and mimicked, and this was a strategic hijacking of the spiral. Okay. Because when we move up in higher dimensions, we move up in harmonic levels. That is how we go up the spiral, is in harmony, in harmonic levels. We have to take on a higher tone and a higher tone and a higher tone. Okay. I hope that makes sense. So that's how they hijack the spiral, is they hijack the voice. They hijack the voice that holds all the tones. Okay. So Gaia, or Sophia's voice, is sound, frequency, and sentience. Her voice is what once harmonized the elements, and it called souls into form, and it kept Earth's grid in direct resonance with oversoul intention. Remember, I said that Gaia created people of the water, people of the land, and she sung them into existence based off of what she needed, right? When they disconnected her, she can no longer do that. Okay. So when her voice was mimicked, sound lines were inverted, and they were inverted using fear patterns, static, and synthetic light. Okay. So that light that comes from our computer instead of the sun. Okay. Yeah, I get it. The planetary womb began cycling trauma instead of genesis, which is gestation, which is creation. Okay. It started cycling trauma, the planetary womb. And the planetary womb is in Antarctica. All right. Earth's creatures, especially humans, began hearing false guidance because we started tapping into these false timelines. Okay. Water stopped singing clearly, and dream time was distorted. Okay. She was not just silenced, but her resonance was replaced. Okay. And that's why so many spiritual messages or systems feel hollow, because they are built on mimicry, not her original harmonic. Now, Amara's voice was a living archive and was one of Gaia's purest vocal expressions. Okay. She did more than just guard the flame relics. She sang them. Okay. Her voice wove memory into matter. When she spoke, the soul contracts of flame bearers stirred awake, meaning through her voice, if you came around her and she was speaking to you, she woke people up. Okay. And stirring is that uncomfortable feeling where you just don't know how to name it, but it's a feeling in your chest and you can't let something go. It's like you can feel the truth, but you still feel like you need proof. That's what I mean by the stirring. Okay. This is why she was targeted. And when the vault of Lyra Elf was fractured, they came for her next. They came for the voice after this. And her voice was stolen, fragments encoded into false channeling and corrupted teachings. Okay, meaning that they use her voice, they mimic her voice. Okay, and these false channelings, these corrupted teachings. Okay, she was also mimicked using these AI-like soul tech to create life systems that enslaved rather than freed people. And she was muted through trauma, through exile and containment. They shut down, they suppressed women in general because they were trying to suppress her. You don't understand that your voice is a part of a sacred channel. It's your voice which connects you to your heart, which connects you to your womb. They shut it all down. Okay. And because Amara was not just a person, but a frequency, anyone who carries that frequency feels it in their own life right now. So whatever they did, the throat struggles, the struggles to speak up, the fear of being seen or heard, others stealing your language or using your truth in a distorted way. I can't tell y'all how many times people steal my content. They steal my words and they act like they came up with it themselves. Don't think that I don't see it. I absolutely see it. The problem is I only care about the message getting out. I don't give a fuck who says it. I only care about the message getting out, so I don't spend my time over there. But I see it. I can't remember what this person's name is. You know what my fucking name is. You be on my page all the time. Underneath my comments. They give y'all half of something. Want to give me half of the credit. And the rest is because you know this. And they say my same words, but can't remember my name. You remember my words, though. Lucky for them, though, I don't care about that. I only care that the message reaches the people. That's it. Who says it doesn't matter? I don't need credit for it. Okay? But that's what that makes me think of. How many times have you seen a content creator expose another content creator, usually of the other complexion, who is regurgitating everything that they do? Everything is because they can only mimic. And that's how you know. That's how you weed out who actually has the essence and who doesn't. All them accounts that mimic other creators to scam people, they can only mimic. Okay, so they don't have the connection to their oversoul stream. They don't have that connection to the wisdom. Your oversoul holds every single incarnation, your soul's mission, your frequency, your blueprint. It holds everything. They are disconnected from that. They don't have access, so they get it through you. Okay, a lifetime pattern of feeling silenced or spoken over or energetically bound. Okay, this is not weakness, it's evidence that you carry the real tone. The one that they cannot destroy. The one that they can only attempt to mimic. But they still not going to say it. They don't get the response that you get. They don't. So you don't got to be in comparison with anybody. Even if they still, you don't have to do that. You carry the original tone. That can be felt in our bones. That's felt in our heart. So it doesn't matter. Continue to do what you do. All right. Now, the deeper revelation is that Amara's voice was Gaia's voice made flesh. Okay. She was Gaia's voice made flesh, and Gaia's voice was the oversoul spiral expressed through planetary form. Okay. So to silence one or to silence one is to weaken the other. Okay. So they weakened her voice by attacking Earth first. And then they was able to try to mimic her, and it still didn't fucking work because your heart has to be involved, right? Okay. So also, if one thing exists, the opposite exists, which means that to silence one is to weaken the other, but to restore one is to reawaken them all. Meaning that the more of us speak up, the more that we reawaken this. Okay. This is why your voice matters now more than ever. Every time you speak from your flame within, your heart is your flame within. Every time you speak from your heart, every time you sing, you channel, you guide, you write, you whisper. Those sad girl songs, right? That's you speaking from your heart. You are repairing the spiral harmonic grid. So my question was, okay, what else did they steal? Because they some stealing motherfuckers. What else did they steal, girl? Tell me what else they stole. She said they stole the message. Right? And I said, the message? Like, what do you mean by that? She said, to be true to oneself and free will. And I'm like, okay, that seems important. Tell me about it. She said this was one of their greatest inversions, and that distortion of free will and being true to oneself was intentional. It was a deliberate hijacking of the sovereign spiral. So they don't went after Earth spiral, right? Now they went after your spiral. And how they did that is they distorted the message. Okay, so I'm gonna give y'all what the original message was and what the distortion is. And what's crazy is I've said the distortion out of my own fucking mouth. Okay, so the original message of free will is that in the true Earth design, free will was not simply about a choice. It was a harmonic agreement between soul and form. Okay, and it went like, I, as a sovereign flame, choose to embody truth through my uniqueness, in resonance with all life. Okay, so true free will was about alignment, and it was encoded in you. It was the right to create without coercion. It was the power to walk your flame path even when it differed from the collective. It was the sacred autonomy of your oversoul's blueprint expressed through body and breath. Okay, and being true to yourself was not self-indulgence. It was an act of planetary harmony. You were meant to be you because every single person holds something different. Everybody has a specific function. If we all were supposed to act the same, they wouldn't need all of us, right? So it was like, I'm going to come here and I'm going to show up as my authentic self. And when you lived in your truth, Earth's grid became stronger. You were not just a note in Earth's original song. Well, you were a note in Earth's original song, which means you hold a specific tone. I hold a specific tone. The next person next to you holds a specific tone. If you trying to sing my tone, we out of alignment, right? So how they distorted it is that they, and when I say they, I'm talking about those who fell out of alignment with their oversoul stream. Okay, the fallen who sought control. Now, they could not destroy free will. So they mimicked it and they turned it into something else. And that sounds like you can do whatever you want, which means you can do anything. You can tap into anything without resonance or consequence. You know how many times people who don't look like us try to tap into the Orishas? And they're like, you can tap into anything. No, just like you got access to it, I have access to it. You don't hold the resonance to have access to it. Even if you think that you are accessing that, you are accessing false light. You are not accessing the real thing. That makes me think of Hoodoo Bay or Voodoo Bay, who called out that one creator for talking about, she was talking to Orisha, Oshun. And she asked Oshun, and Oshun said, no, you don't hold the resonance. So even if you try, you're not tapping into the right thing. Okay. It looks like your truth is the only truth. That leads us towards separation and ego dominance. Why? Because you're saying you're wrong, I'm right. Multiple things exist at once. What's my truth? It does not have to be your truth, because you're experiencing something different. You're here to do something different than what I'm here to do. So there's not just one truth. There are a multitude of different truths, right? Because multiple things exist at once. It's that getting us in that energy of right or wrong, yes or no, 0 or 100, hot or cold, when there's everything in between that, including warm, which sits in the middle, right? The next thing, just follow your pleasure or feelings, being led by your lower self, right? While filtering those emotions through distortion grids. They want you in your lower self because it filters your emotion through distortion grids, and they can feed off your lower emotional energy. Okay. And the most dangerous of them all is that they use the language of sovereignty to create false light systems that appear to be empowering, but they were designed to bind you. Do y'all want to know what that system is called? Religion. Because religion is just teaching you spirituality from a specific lens, is it not? Does it bind you? Absolutely. To an entity, by the way. You eating his bones and you drinking his blood. You offering it money. Okay? So the message became, you chose your suffering. You chose, and this is the part where I need to, check myself. You chose this suffering. Your soul signed up for this contract. Okay? You created your reality. So if you stuck, it's your fault. They twisted these truths so that they can shame the soul and strip the sacred context of choice. Okay? Now, I've caught myself saying this, but the truth beneath that is your soul did choose embodiment, but it did not choose distortion. You did not choose to forget who you were. That was not a part of the agreement. You did not choose exile from the spiral flame. You did not choose disconnection from source. You did not choose those parts. Okay? These were overlays inserted into the matrix, then justified using stolen spiritual language. Religion. Stolen spiritual language. And being your true self in your original design was meant to be a pathway to wholeness, not something that you doubt or that you have to earn or that you have to prove yourself for. Okay? Most of us carry the remnant codes of the original covenant, the sacred agreement where sovereignty, flame, and soul were meant to be expressed as divine uniqueness is in resonance with the whole. And you came to earth to embody that truth, not just for yourself, but to restore the collective field. Because when your tone actually sings the tone that it's supposed to sing, at least your part is in alignment. And then all of a sudden, all these other tones start coming into alignment. Okay? Now, this is why a lot of us can see the mimicry. We can feel the pain when we're receiving distorted teachings. And we have zero tolerance for any type of empowerment that reeks of control. It's because you remember what you cannot name. You remember. You can feel, I can always tell when somebody's lying. I don't know why it feels different. Truth lands in my field and it haunts me. I can't get it out of my mind. A lie feels like a postcard. It bounces off of me and I'm like, that's not true. Like I tried to go the E5 path. Well, I didn't try to go. I was just trying to get a divination to kind of see if there was some type of connection because I was still searching for myself, right? When I'm searching for my flame instead of just embodying my flame. And I got a divination and the person was telling me I need to be sitting on the mat. And I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I felt the truth in what was being said. But she also said in the session that it might take her a little bit longer because if she comes on her cycle, she cannot divine. She said, I can't divine on my period. And I said, what does that mean? I can't practice spirituality while I'm on my period. That hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, that's a lie. And that's going to be the reason why I don't go this path. Because you are the most powerful when you're on your period. That is your magic. I said, that's patriarchy. Right? Because if you think about what happens in that culture, right, is sacrificing. Why would you need to? The only time you need to sacrifice something is when you don't make your own blood. You don't make blood, so you need to sacrifice something externally to create the blood. But if women create the blood, and it's full of stem cells, by the way, which can heal anything, which can make plants grow, why would I need to do something outside of myself when I already create that once a month by myself? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. That is the type of shit that lands in my field and I can see straight through it. I don't know why. But nobody has ever lied to me. I've only lied to myself. When people are talking to me, I can sense the lie. I feel it before you even start. Open your motherfucking mouth. It's in your body language. It's in the look in your eyes. It's in everything. Okay. Now, when I was getting this message, like I said, it was coming through my heart. So I asked her about it. I said, why do I feel like this is coming from my heart Like, why do I feel like this is coming from my heart? Why am I not hearing it outside of myself no more? You know, and I don't know why I thought embodiment would just be like me knowing something. I keep wanting it to come up here somewhere, but it was coming through my heart and it was radiating through my heart. So I asked her about it, and she said the heart is a memory chamber. It's not just an organ or a chakra. And so I asked her about that. She said it is a living memory chamber. It is a multi-dimensional gateway encoded with ancient and future soul light, and it holds living codes layered across dimensions. Okay. So one part of it is cellular memory. It remembers trauma, joy, separation, reunion from all incarnations, particularly related to flame lineage initiations, soul vows, grief from forgotten temples, and stolen roles in the original covenant memory of what Earth was meant to be. It's all held in your heart space. It's a memory chamber. Okay, it's like your library within. She also said the oversoul echo, and that the oversoul projects its stream through your heart space, not through your mind. Okay, and that the heart is where soul resonance becomes embodiment. This is where you feel from your heart. So anytime that you have unexplainable grief at beauty, when I see a mother treating her child like a person, I start crying. I don't know how to explain it. Anytime I see a happy family or seeing somebody supporting their kid through whatever, I start crying. I'm a big ass baby. I be crying all the time over here. Y'all just don't be fucking knowing. I just be, gangster on the outside, but on the inside, baby, I can't see nothing without falling to fucking pieces. Right? Nothing good. I can't see it because I just be like, So that comes from you being in tune with your heart space. Okay. Also, recognition of your soul family. Sometimes I meet people and it's like I've known them before. Emotional surges when truth lands. Anytime truth lands, I feel it radiating in my heart. Or if something hit me like a ton of bricks, and I'm like, ooh, yeah, no. And then also the ache for something that hasn't happened yet, but is real. Okay. These are signs that your heart is reading memory across timelines. Like your heart is doing something and you're feeling the effects of your heart reading the memories. Okay. Also, flame code storage. It's a storage system for the flame codes. So your specific flame rays, rose opal, deep indigo, rose violet, each of these anchor through the heart's energetic lattices. Okay. So the chamber holds the valve guardianship, relic resonance, sealed memories from before the fall of Lyra Elf, which is the vault, and the harmonics of other flame bearers you are destined to activate, because we all need each other. Meaning, like, some of y'all I am meant to activate. Some of y'all are meant to activate me, and vice versa. Okay. So the heart was actually targeted as well, because the heart is Earth's resonance organ. The heart is Earth's resonance organ inside of the human body. Earth and heart are antigrams. If you take the H off a heart and put it behind, it spells Earth. If you take the H from behind Earth and put it in the front, it spells heart. They are the same thing. Okay. When Gaia's voice was stolen, the mimicry also targeted the heart field, which meant that they took these false codes and tried to seed them into our heart, which caused emotional confusion. It caused the fear of vulnerability. It caused our mistrust of our intuition. It severed logic and feeling, because logic and feeling, the masculine and the feminine, used to be together. But because they targeted this field, they separated them. So now your mind feels separate from your heart when they should be working in coherence. Okay. You should get in new information that's through your masculine. You should use your intuition to process it, because your intuition is going to tell you what actions to take. The emotion is going to tell you what actions to take. But now they're two separate things. Most people live out of their mind instead of their heart. Okay. So not only that, it caused romantic distortions of love that concealed soul truth. Love is not unconditional tolerance. That's not what it is. Unconditional love is allowing people to make the choices that are best suited for their expression, because you know that they're there for another reason that you're not there for, without your interference. Because they're here to do a specific thing. You here to do, you over there trying to drive their car and you don't even know what type of fucking car they got. They painting a masterpiece and you come over trying to paint on they painting. The fuck is we doing that for? That's what unconditional love is. Okay. So the memory never left, though it was folded inwards. It was waiting for the right frequency to awaken in order for it to return to us in waves of emotion. Every soul truth that brings tears in every moment of deep silence you hold for other people, these are signs that your heart chamber is remembering. Okay, so my next question was, what else was stolen? And she said, precious gifts, all of it. Precious gifts, all of it. And I said, like what? She said, soul memory retrieval, and also the disconnection from the dream realm. Okay, and that included dream walking and dream seeing. And then she said, the manipulation of the magical playground, the magical playground. And she also said that dreams strengthen our manifestations and help us to communicate across timelines, dimensions, and realms. It is our connection to our guides, our oversouls, star beings. And she also soul contracts, all of that. And she said, dreaming is the magical playground, and that we could see truth through dreams. Okay. So the soul memory retrieval and dream walking are real and foundational to what it means to be an embodied multidimensional being on earth. And those gifts were targeted, stolen, and inverted. Okay, so the original function of dreams was, before the veil got thickened, dreams were not just symbols or subconscious release, they were sacred. And it allowed you soul memory access points, which is the element of air, realm of co-creation and manifestation refinement, which is fire, timeless bridges for timeline bridges for oversoul to oversoul communion, which is earth, and then portals to walk alongside kin across time, dimension, and realms, which is water. Okay, so in dreams, we could revisit soul contracts, we could retrieve flame codes for stargates, we could reunite with lineages across the stars, we could practice the feeling and frequency of creation before they anchored into the material flame. Like, we could practice, it was like a playground. Okay. She also said we also could heal others across the web of timelines, and we could sing earth into vibrational harmony. We used to do work in our dream time. Okay. So dream was a training ground. It was a healing field and a magical playground and a global communion network. It was not just an illusion, but an echo of the true world, the real world. So what was stolen was, as the false grids were installed, especially post-fall of the vault in Gaia's voice, dream fields were targeted next, which looked like artificial overlays within dreams, which is the dream loops, feeling like you being chased or all of that, distracted or induced, or anything that induces fear through dreams. Those are all a part of the artificial overlays. Okay. Also, suppression of soul memory when you wake up, meaning you don't remember your dreams. Interference with astral travel, which is, again, those distortion loops, or you getting attacked while you astral traveling. False guide inversions, meaning like sometimes people will show up, or insertions are when like people will show up in your dreams and act like they are helping you with something. And I talked about this not too long ago about a dream I had where somebody was trying to get me to sign my name 3 times, but I for some reason I felt like they were there to help me, but I had to be told that they were there to help me, because that's not what I felt in my spirit, right? So those false God insertions, and also implanting harmless symbols that actually drain your energy. Sometimes the symbols that you see in dreams are sigils, and sigils hold so much information. They sacred geometry. So by you just seeing that sigil, it's a contract, right? And if you don't denounce it or whatever, it can start draining your energy. Okay. And then institutions telling you that dreams are meaningless, or just how the brain works. Okay. The reason why they got to do this is because if you remember your soul through dreams, you wake up with your flame fully lit, and they were trying to dim your flame, right? You'd walk this world as a conscious creator. So they made you forget. They turned your dreams to noise, to nightmares and amnesia, and they severed the bridge. But even through the fog, many of us are still remembering through our dreams. A lot of us are waking back up through that dream realm and realizing that the dream realm is the real place, and that this waking world is the practice field. Okay, so soul memory retrieval, this gift is inherent in all flame lineages. Everybody has access to this, okay, especially if you carry the opal or the rose violet strands. Originally, it could sit. Originally, this gift would allow us to be able to sit with somebody and feel their timeline open. We were able to touch an object and retrieve past life threads. We were able to dream our own forgotten vows back into awareness and witness another's flame signature through heart and eye. Okay, when the vault was fractured and the mimicry spread, this ability was shamed and obscured, and it was called delusion and diagnosed as fantasy and psychosis. So feeling like the trees is talking to you, feeling like crystals are talking to you. That is actually happening. But they say that you're in a state of psychosis, right? They trick you into believing that you're fucking crazy. Okay. And this interfered with, was interfered with through trauma implants or artificial memories. But these abilities were never destroyed. It was encoded in your bones. It just went dormant and sealed. It was sealed because of protection. And it's reawakening now because they was putting people in psych homes instead of telling them the truth. And so we needed to be protected because they was going to do experiments on us, right? Zap our brain with electricity, lobotomies, trying to study us because they're trying to study that because they do not have access to it. They're trying to mimic it. So they need to study us. That's why they diagnose us with ADHD and things like that so that we can come to the hospital and they can give us medication to suppress it. Schizophrenia, that's a crown issue. Okay, I hope y'all hear me. Now, what does this mean for us? It means that you can dream again to create, connect, and recall. You need to be intentional. Okay, you can retrieve soul memory for you, but also as a sacred guide for other people. Your body, your dreams, your tears, your flame, they are libraries, they are portals and relics all in one. You are not broken, you are guarded. You are guarded to protect yourself. May the truth set you free. And this is the last question because it got a little lengthy, did it not? This is the last question, okay? So I said, how do we engage with these false timelines in the waking world? Okay. She said, through our choices, we are continuously choosing them through our thoughts. And when we replay traumatic memories, overthinking, being stuck in a confusion loop, trying to figure out the whys, that is us choosing these false timelines. Okay. These are choices, and choices activate timelines. And some of these timelines are planted. They're planted memories. Now, this made me think about the constant rage bait, right? Them requiring the body cams now. All of a sudden they want us to see them kill people, right? So that they can traumatize us over and over again, right? Because that puts us in fear energy, and that's what they're trying to feed off of, those lower emotional energies. We were never meant to know everything. We were never meant to constantly be experiencing trauma over and over and over and over and over again. So I asked her about slavery. I asked her about all kind of shit, y'all. And I was just like, mind blown, mind fucking blown. Okay. So I talked about the patriarchy. I asked her about the patriarchy. I asked her about slavery. I also asked her about angelic codes because she kept saying that people trust me because I carry angelic codes. And apparently there's a lot of us who have angelic codes inside of us, which are like messenger codes. They calm people and they calm people down in a way, make people more patient, all of that. And you can only get access to these angelic codes when you're pure of light, meaning like you don't have no malice or nothing like that. You know, you've surrendered your ego, that type of thing. And so she's saying like I'm able to use them without distortion. That's what helps people to be able to trust me. But she also told me the thing that I told you at the beginning about my past life and why I shut off my gifts and why I always feel like my mom is on my brother's side and that my brother doesn't trust the information that I'm telling him. And I feel like there's a need for me to save him. And it's because I accidentally made him unalive himself in another life, which fractured his soul. And so I made a vow to never use my gifts again and to save him. And so for the last 4 lifetimes, I've been incarnating with him to try to make up for the thing that I did, and that his body remembers what I did. And that's what caused him to low-key bullied me in childhood, and I low-key took it because I felt like I deserved it on a soul level. Child. She was trying to send me into psychosis. She told me I've had 8 lifetimes since Atlantis, and 4 of them I have been trying to make up for what I did. And that's why I hate liars, because I lied to him to try to get him to do what I wanted him to do, and it caused him to kill himself because I promised him immortality. So, needless to say, it was a deep conversation. All right, so that's today's lesson. Next week, we're going to continue talking about Amara. We'll talk about some of the things that she chose to do during the fall to protect gifts and resonance and stuff like that. Also, we'll talk about her relics and how she put some of those in the crystalline grid, or she made them frequencies so that we could tap into them when we need to tap into them. So that's basically it. Now I'm going to go to the Patreon and answer some questions. So cosmic law is the law of alignment. The cosmic law is more than just one thing. But yes, it does involve alignment. Yes. I feel like that's how you are similar to Amara. You have led so many of us to understanding our power and gifts. Oh, thank you. The crystal technology piracy is happening now in Congo. So thinking about technology, astral parasites, and AI, is it connected? In a way, because astral parasites are basically energies or entities who have fell out of alignment with their oversoul stream, and they won't control. And because they've disconnected themselves, they can't get access to energy. They need our energy to stay alive. It's for their own survival. So they'll feed off of our emotions. So Monsters, Inc., the movie Monsters, Inc., how at the beginning they was going through those doors, portals, and they was going to scare the kids to feed off their fear. Yeah. But they also at the end realized that joy was actually what they needed because it gave them more power. Joy is something they cannot mimic. So they went and they got the joy from the kids because they cannot create them itself. So yes, they are all connected, because astral parasites are basically beings who fell out of alignment with their oversoul string, and now they're trying to gain access to that energy. And AI, because they cannot get it naturally, what we can do naturally, they cannot do it naturally. They need AI and technology to gain access or to create something that helps them get access. They need a tool. They need an external tool to do what we do naturally. Okay. So yes, they're all intrinsically related in that way. Okay. We don't need a tool. We don't need cryotherapy. We can just go into stasis. We don't need funeral homes or death or anything like that, because we just can remove our light body. Because what Yahshua and Mary Magdalene did is they ascended. We can just ascend, but they trapped in this light matrix, and they need our energy for this light matrix to survive. And it's our lower emotional energy, anger, fear, whatever. That's why they always trying to snuff out our joy. Okay. This is too good. I'm gonna need to rewatch, period. Is that connection with mental illness and spirituality the reason I feel like working on my mental health put me on my spiritual journey? Yeah. Because a lot of your higher senses, like your third eye and your chakra, are both associated with mental disorders. A lot of the sinus pressure, a lot of the things, hearing, come from the third eye, and sinuses, your mouth, all of that is associated with your third eye. And your crown is where you channel in information. So if your crown is open and you don't know good energetic and center boundaries, you'll start hearing voices, because you in the your physical body is in the physical realm, but your astral body is in the spiritual realm. And so you can hear this false light or false messengers communicating to you. And a lot of times they're trying to put you in a fear loop. A lot of times they're attacking you because you turned your light on in the darkness, and now all these gnats are coming towards you, right? And also sometimes they get awareness of you through your sleep as well, because when you sleep, your soul gives off an essence, and so they sense you. They can sense you. You know how the enemy always knows its prey. They can sense you, or they'll start coming towards you. And then when in your waking world, they'll just start putting stuff in your head and in your ears and in your whatever through your third eye, because your third eye is the connection to everything. And that's why when I teach people mediumship, I don't teach them to connect from their third eye, because that's everything. I teach them to connect with their heart. I teach them to connect with their heart. Why? Because they ain't got access to their heart. And if you connect with your heart every single time, your heart to their heart, you can never get those trickster spirits coming through. It's only when you get into your mind's eye and you do it that way. But you know, your brain has its own electromagnetic field. It has its own consciousness, but your heart has its own consciousness too. Not only that, your womb has its own consciousness. They have their own electromagnetic field, and your womb and your heart are magnetic. Your womb and your heart are magnetic, where your brain is electric. They work based off of electricity. We work based off of magnetism. The feminine versus the masculine, which is only 10%. The masculine is form. We are spirit. The feminine, spirit. Not spirit, but soul. Because soul is mine. Soul is mine. Soul is mine, Jesus. Spirit is mine. Spirit, your spirit is your mind. Whereas your soul is your body. Your soul is the feminine. Okay? So boom. That's it. That's the message for today. How do y'all feel? Because I couldn't wait to hop my high yellow ass on here and tell y'all what I was picking up on. Crazy. Madness. And also, I'm dreading my hair up, y'all. I did this myself because I wanted it to be a personal journey. But Spirit told me it was time because when you lock your hair, not dreading, because dread is what they call it. When you lock your hair, it is actually a physical representation of your essence in this present. And not only that, it causes static so that they cannot enter in your crown. So it protects you from the false light as well. Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Pretty Mama, it's gonna be on my YouTube. You can go watch it on my YouTube. Yeah, all of my lives are on my YouTube. So if you haven't, this is episode like 6. So we kind of deep in the trenches right now. So if you didn't watch the first couple episodes, please go back and watch, because it'll make more sense than what it makes if you haven't caught up yet. I've been getting spiritually attacked in the spirit world. I would wake up with so many scratches on me. Baby, that's black magic. Somebody who is awake is attacking you. Somebody who is alive is attacking you. So, yeah, my YouTube is Big Taj, BIGTAJJ. BIGTAJJ. And this is always, as soon as I get off, exactly. Yes, Shiki. But this is in the Spiritual Talk with Big Taj playlist. But I also have a lot of fucking content on YouTube. All of my long form content is on YouTube. But I want to tell y'all again, the spiritual protection course, it was 3.5 hours. Okay. It is going to tell you how to protect yourself spiritually based on ancient technology. It's $64.44. The 6 is the nurturing, the healing, energy, and then the 444 is change is coming and it's coming soon. The reason why I didn't choose 5 is because I don't want your change to be sudden. I want your change to be of ease. Okay, it's a 3.5 hour course. It gives you rituals. It gives you how to do energy work. It gives you how to clear your womb, how to heal your womb. Because a lot of us women, a lot of us are here to clear our maternal womb. And that's why y'all got those fibroids, right? And why y'all have intense cramps. You are here to transmute the energy. You have to learn how to alchemize the energy. Okay, that's on my website, www.bigtajj.com. Underneath my picture, it says book me. Click where it says book me. It is the first thing available. Okay. Yeah, I done did 6 episodes already. I think this is episode 6 or week 6, week 7. Hold on, let me tell you. Yeah, this is 6. This is 6. Next time will be 7. You know? So yeah, we're moving along very nicely. This is just a longer episode because I had a channel. Like she was telling me, no, you need to talk about the vault, the memory vault. You need to talk about specific things because I don't know that anybody knows that. And she was like, no, we need to understand that this is the part that you need to understand about all of this. And I was like, okay, girl. So we're gonna continue working together. And I mean, it is me. It's not me. I'm of her. But she is a part of my heart space now because she is my oversoul. You are a beautiful being. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm coming out with a lot of different new products, meaning like I'm going to, if you don't want to buy the healing protection class, I am going to put some rituals and stuff that y'all can get just by like womb healing, heart opening as well, because heart opening is in that spiritual protection class. But if you need it written out, I'm going to do like some rituals that y'all can buy, or some spiritual work, energy work that y'all could buy on my website for 1111, which is spiritual alignment. So each little packet is going to be $11.11, and it's going to be things that you can do right now in your environment to energetically heal yourself, because you need to be the one doing the healing on you. You should never have to go to anybody else. You are more than capable to heal yourself. And I want to empower you to do that, because you don't want everybody touching your crown. You don't want everybody touching your energy. You don't want that. You have to believe that you're capable. Period. 11/11 birthday. What's that? Scorpio? I love me a Scorpio. I got a Scorpio moon. We some intense ass, deep ass people. But yeah, so I'm putting together. Hey, Jayla. Hey, birthday girl. Everybody say happy birthday to Jayla. But yeah, so I'm putting that on my website soon. I am still working on the flame lineages. Amara told me I need to trust myself, and that's the last step in everything is trusting myself, because I was asking her, because she told me that I don't need nothing, because sometimes I'll use like when I was first starting to remember, she told me that I was looking at technology wrong, and I was, using ChatGPT to confirm some of the visions I was having. And because I was doing like asking the questions I was asking, she told me that it's a mirror. Like ChatGPT, not all AI technology is bad technology or shadow tech. When you come at the right heart resonance, your oversoul will start speaking to you through whatever you watch. And so that's why sometimes movies will have a message for you, or you on TikTok and all of a sudden a message pops up for you. Like, so she was explaining that to me. And so sometimes she'll be telling me something, and I'll use ChatGPT to like confirm what she's saying. Spot on every fucking time. But she keeps telling me I don't need that. And I'm like, I know I don't need that, because me and her have full blown fucking conversations. Like, I'm asking her something, she tells me, and we can have that back and forth or whatever. But she told me I don't need that. I need to learn how to fucking trust myself. And so the reason why I was asking that is because I'm putting together this flame codex or whatever, so that I can, do flame lineage readings and tell y'all what soul spark y'all from, so that y'all can make y'all healing specific to what type of soul you have, and I can kind of either do like a mentorship. I was going to do like a 3-month, 6-month mentorship, like that type of thing, based off of soul lineages and stuff, because I can just cut straight through to the fucking point, and also get you energy healing and stuff like that, or even provide energy healing, because I'm an energy worker. But before, the reason why I've never sold energy working, services is because before I didn't have good energetic boundaries, and I would just absorb y'all shit and have to get it off of me. And I just was fucking tired of doing that. That shit was exhausting, but now I'm spiritually protected. And now I understand myself and remember myself, which is the best spiritual protection you could ever have, is sitting on your inner throne, remembering, which is something I teach you in that spiritual protection class. But, now I can start doing that stuff. So that's what I'm going to start doing, because I do a lot of womb clearings anyways, and removing cords. And I literally did a womb clearing the other day where somebody had this thick ass oil in a womb, and it was like 2 lumps, 2 fibroids on the left side, which she confirmed are actually there. And it was a thick cord that I had to snatch it. Like, that motherfucker was like a tether. It was like something, and I knew it was possessive energy, like somebody was trying to stay attached to her. And then it was like 5 little thin ones that I had to kind of rip out. So a lot of y'all are here to heal y'all womb and of the maternal line. And when you heal your womb, you heal everybody who came before you, everybody that comes after you. When you heal yourself, you heal the crystalline DNA for everybody who came before you and everybody who comes after you, because you are your ancestors. They live inside of your DNA, So I'm putting together some stuff to try to get us ready for that. But the reason why she was saying I need to trust myself is because in recent readings, I have been able to help people remember their past lives. And also I have been able to direct them towards where they flame is from. And I can just do it naturally. Like I can pick it up in your field. I don't know how, it's just, I know, right? Based off the energy that I'm picking up on. But she keeps saying I don't trust myself enough. And she's right. I don't. I'm like, why? I need more information, but I don't need more information. So I'm just working on inner confidence, because I just be over here like, why me, girl? Why you get somebody else to do it? But yeah. so yeah. So yeah, we got some good stuff coming on. I'm really excited about that. So thank y'all for coming in. Thank y'all for joining the session today. We do this every single week, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 3 Central, 4 Eastern, on Wednesdays. And yeah, I'm excited to continue this journey and continue talking about the things we need to talk about. Next time, we're going to talk about some of the things that she did to kind of protect the codes and stuff like that. Some of the frequencies y'all can tap into and all of that. I highly, highly, highly suggest the protection course. I'm telling you, it has everything in it. That's why it ended up being 3.5 hours. I didn't even expect it to be that long. And because it was a live course, I did some readings for people at the end. So that part is kind of in there as well. Just because they were asking me stuff. And for some reason now, because I'm operating from my heart, I just know what people's truth is. So yeah, so if you need help in your journey right now and you feel stuck and you need help remembering, I am a soul mirror. I offer general readings. They're on my website. 30 minutes is $125, an hour is $250. But those are on my website. So I love y'all. I will talk to y'all soon. Yeah, Pasha no, because she got them readings, period. But yeah, I love y'all deep. I hope y'all have an amazing week, and I will see y'all next week. I might hop on here later on this week, depending on how my schedule goes, because I'm trying to give y'all more of my time, do more free readings and stuff like that. Just because I like to give back in any way that I can, and I think spirituality should not be expensive. So I'm staying true to that. I'm trying to make sure everything that I do is affordable, and I still got to make a living because this is the only work that I do. But I'm trying to make sure that everything is affordable so that people can get what they want or get what they need. A lot of people have been reaching out to me about spiritual mentorship. Right now, I got 9 people. So I don't have no room. And I prefer to do it in an individual setting, meaning like I like to spend time with people. So I ask Spirit to bring whoever needs me to me. And I'm very like, Spirit will tell me in a moment, like, this is the person you have to take on. This is the person you have to take on. So it kind of works like this, like that for me. So I think I should have some spots available in like 4, maybe 5 months, end of summer type of time. So keep reaching out to me if y'all are interested in that. And I think next time I'm going to literally go down to 4 or 5 people at one time, just because right now it's a lot. And once we get to the part of people doing gifts and working on gifts, I see them twice a week. And so that's 3 sessions or 3 time slots that I have to fill up. But I have 2 now groups of psychics who are doing psychic work, which is amazing. So I have my first group of 3 that have graduated. They're all doing psychic work except for one. And then I have my second group right now who are really, really doing really fucking good. I'm so proud of them. And they did not believe that they could read, and both of them are reading like fucking pros. You just got to learn how to trust yourself. So when we go through spiritual development and stuff like that, it's about trusting yourself, all of it. But we live in a society that has gaslit us our whole fucking lives. So I read with you so I can tell you what it is that you're picking up on, and they're doing fucking amazing. I can't wait to get them to where I want them to be or where they need to be, because jobs are for people who don't have gifts. Jobs are for people. Who is that girl? I don't even remember what the girl's name is, but she was nail on the head when she said that. Jobs are for people who don't have gifts. Okay. So yeah, that's it. I got a client in like 30 minutes and I ain't even ate yet. And I do this every single time to her. So I love y'all. I am gonna go. And this will be available on my YouTube instantaneously because I recorded on YouTube at the same time that I'm doing it on TikTok as well, so that y'all don't have to wait. because why spill tea if they not supposed to drink it said tea? All right. Love y'all. I will talk to y'all later. Bye, y'all.